Hello there, my name is Ian, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Joining me today are friends and colleagues. In the Cardiacs beanie and Thinking Plague t-shirt, we have Eric Kearns, graphic designer extraordinaire. Eric has worked with us across many projects and in different combinations, including layout and design for all 4 of my coloratura records, Moon X, who are the group that you see before you today, and of course the Muffins box set. Also joining us is Dave Newhouse in the Muffins t-shirt waving. Dave is composer, woodwind maestro, author, gentleman, and scholar. You may know Dave best for his work in the Muffins, but he's also contributed work to, of course, Moon X, while maintaining his solo projects under the name Mana Mirage, but most recently under his own name. Lastly, bassist, guitarist, and Cloud Over Jupiter leader Jerry King, who's in the Moon X t-shirt. Jerry has appeared in a multitude of projects, including Moon X, Dave's Monomirage, Zany Star Blaster, and of course, Reefer Stramus. Together, Dave and Jerry make up 2/3 of Moon X with George on drums. But recently, they also compiled the well-received ZZAJ Jazz compilation, which I mastered. Hey, how are you guys? What are we listening to this week?
We're good. We're always listening to music.
All the time.
All the time.
24/7.
And how are people in the chat today? What you guys up to? Chatters. Big Eyed Bean Vision says Deerhoof. So
Deerhoof's good.
what are we going to talk about first? So I did want to mention that this is the new album from Moon X, and I like that we all brought our copies to the table.
Mine's backwards.
Dave did, but I got mine out here. But this is some excellent cover design here from Eric.
Yeah, look at the design on that. Just look at it. Look at it.
Who's the master?
We want to say that Eric is the way he designs our albums. That's kind of like our logo now. When you see one of our album covers designed by Eric at Finbot Studios, that's the Moon X logo. I think at this point, it's our signature.
We need T-shirts made.
Yeah, we had to go with that comic book flavor, and just keep going with it. Up in the inflation, all that good stuff.
Right. it's kind of creating a story as it goes on and on, So it's like different panels. Put them together, we're going to have a big graphic novel when it's all done, I think.
That's a really strong idea. See, I had this idea in my head, and I'll run it past you guys. But you guys have all seen This Island Earth, right?
Right.
And I started thinking about what's missing from the Moon X covers is men and women with insect heads. That needs to be the next.
I was just thinking of that the other day.
Like grasshoppers and
insect heads.
Spider heads, multiple.
All right. So insect head is going to have to be a song title, I think, at some point, right?
We'll get on it.
And then it'll make it into Eric's cover, possibly, right?
Yeah, Mantis Mug. We'll have
Mantis Mug. There you go. I'm going to boost your audio there, Eric. You're a little bit quieter than everybody else, I think. You guys in the chat are going to have to let us know about my mixing skills, because the reason why we're late today is we had tech issues.
It's because of me.
Together. Well, I wasn't going to point fingers.
Yeah, because of me.
I was not going to point fingers, but yes, it was because of Dave. Making sure we're pointing all in the right direction.
Yes. Like the Brady Bunch here,
The
Brady Bunch on the moon.
Oh, let's see. Now that's a title right there.
There's a title of something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Insect Men and Brady Bunch on the Moon.
Right.
I also wanted to point out
Jan.
that Eric worked on the cover for this. This isn't his design, of course. This was a local painter that I hired, but Eric put together like the back cover here and some of the layout inside. But and then also, since we're doing show and tell, here's Jerry King's latest album, Cloud Over Jupiter. What do we call it? Atomic Jupiter, which I mixed and mastered. I don't think Eric contributed any design to this, but I know that Dave is on this. So it's kind of like all conceptually linked.
You're on that too.
And I'm on it too. I play a little bit of flute on it.
Yep.
And then I also wanted to mention, kind of to kick off the whole what are we listening to thing, I've been checking this out. This is Dave's most recent solo record, Soli.
Yay!
Yay, Dave.
It's all Dave.
It's all Dave.
You have to do that one.
It's the All Dave channel.
And kind of the amazing thing is, as Dave has said, and this is another great Eric Kearns design here, Mr. Finbot.
Yeah, that was a lot of flatten my own artwork and had to redo it all. It was good fun.
You had to redo it.
Yeah, I made a blunder, and my PSD and all the layers went away, and I had to redo it.
I hate it when that happens. You know,
But,
I have no idea what he's talking about.
No, but that is a fantastic sounding album. That is awesome.
It is, yeah.
Thank
and
you.
I wanted to point that out that Dave plays all the instruments on this, and you really can't tell. Like it sounds like you hired a band on this, which amazes me.
Yay! That was the goal. Thank you. That's good. Okay. Oh, good.
And I also wanted to point out that if you're new to Dave's work, this is a good place to start because I think it covers all of your kind of major areas of study. Like there's a remake of a Muffins tune on here. And there's some like the experimental piece, like the 3 easy pieces where you cut 3 things together. But even the ambient thread, which is kind of like a new thing in the last couple of projects we've done, even that's here. So it just kind of covers a little bit of everything, including improv. And I found the final track, Not Enough Time, Billy, to be so touching.
Good.
Billy Swan. And I was listening to that last night, and it kind of made me tear up because I could feel a presence in the room.
Oh, good. That's what I was hoping to get across. That's good. Thanks, Ian. Hey, Natural Morta.
Natural Morta, that's another good one.
I had this on a couple days ago as well, and it was a pleasure to work on this too. But another just, yeah.
Yeah, Eric did the cover for that. Jerry played on that. Yeah.
Yeah, this was another photograph that we worked off of. That you had pulled this up, Dave. I'm not sure who did the photograph. I think it's noted. But
Yeah, where did you get the cover for that? Where did you get that?
The photograph was a friend of mine. My gosh, his last name is slipping by at the moment. Hang on a second.
You need my glasses.
Sanford Robert Scheller.
Yeah.
Sanford Robert Scheller.
Yeah. It's a killer photo, regardless.
Yeah. I saw it and immediately asked him if I could use it.
So before we get underway, because we're going to talk about a lot of different kinds of music, I have a listening list. It was the first time I gave anybody homework to do. And it was kind of fun.
Do you grade on a curve? By the way, because
it's scaled. Yeah.
I don't do very well with homework.
But the concept that I kind of gave these guys was I said, give me your top 5 albums, and from that list I extrapolated I think 7 records to talk about, and they're from like across different genres here. I mean, it mostly kind of landed prog because I think that's kind of where my collection is for the most part. But I realized about a day into it that I'd given myself only 6 days to really live with this stuff and to also read about it and research it. So these last 5 or 6 days, I've just totally been immersing myself into these selections that you guys have chosen. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do that, Dave, you gave me some exciting news last night. Do you want to tell us about what you worked on?
What did I work on?
You know, you and George. What were you guys working on?
George's drumming. So George came. I wrote a Moon X tune. We're back to doing Moon X. I had to take a break because I'm writing a book and I had to edit it, and I'm in the process of rewriting it now because my proofreaders have come back and there's a lot of things to clear up in there. So I'm rewriting, but I had to take a break from music completely. I wasn't painting. I wasn't doing music. But I came up with a Moon X tune, just kind of came to me a couple weeks ago. So I recorded a click track and my keyboard tracks. And then I got George to come down last night and he recorded his drum tracks for it. And it sounds really good. So he saved the day. Yeah. And bless his heart, when there were 2 sections that he went through, and I said, why don't we'll just do one section now, you know? And and he does like 10 takes per section. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. He's like a perfectionist. And then when we finished, he said, I'll do the second section. So he did the second section, which is the whole tune, really. And now we just have to kind of put it together, pick the best ones and put it together. And then Jerry and I will start layering on it. I'll send it to Jerry and he'll put some bass and guitar on it and trombone. And, we'll take it from there. But yeah.
So is that your guys' normal writing process? Do you kind of have a click track and then build the drums up and then build it up from there, or does it vary from track to track?
It's different each time. Always with a click track though, but sometimes I'll start with bass guitar and I'll just put the bass down and construct the song out of the bass guitar. Other times it's the 6-string guitar. Other times it's Dave and I share the duties, Like the last album, I did 4 of the source tracks to start the song off, and Dave did 4. That's how it worked.
We don't plan it that way. It just kind of turned out that way. But like when I send this one to Jerry, it'll have my keyboard tracks and some horn tracks and George's drum tracks. So he won't be playing to a click track, although I'll send it to him if he wants it. But it'll be more of the whole band that he can add to and stuff. Then Jerry just sent me one, and I'm going to go through that next and start to add my parts to that. But that's a click track and some guitar on it that I have to kind of go by.
Yeah, there's some bass on part of it too, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we send it to Eric and say, well, this is kind of what it sounds like, and we just kind of let him. Something happens inside his brain. I'm not quite sure what it is.
Finbot is actually the puppet master here.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Enlighten me. I'd love to know what it is.
I don't know what it is either. None of us know what it is.
Your sounds, and I think of like vicious, angry creatures and things.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the whole hot rats thing where it's like preheated rats emerging from the saxophone.
That's what it is. So
Eric, here's
the trombone.
I'm sorry?
Or sometimes the trombone.
Right. So Eric, here's my question before we get underway talking about other people's music. But what is the zaniest, most out there thing? And anybody in the room here, what is the most zany out there thing we've ever asked you to do graphic design wise?
I want names. I want names.
What was the thing that made you go, oh my God, how do I do this?
I probably did it to myself when I agreed to do that Muffins box set on my own.
I was hoping you'd mention that.
That was pretty zany and stupid.
That was a lot of work. You get an award for that. You get some kind of medal for that, I think.
I don't think you guys have ever asked me anything totally zany to where I was like shocked or any of that, but I buried myself with that box set because the first thing I'd said to Dave when I met him many moons ago, a box set, hit me up. I want to do it. And
yes, I remember that. That's right.
Right. I'm still shocked that you backed me up on that and got Steve to agree to that. And I'm still it was like that's the pinnacle for me. Mm-hmm. And all the artwork I've done, that box set is really that's the one.
Oh,
do another one or anything else. I'm so proud of having been able to work on.
Oh, thank you. Well, that booklet was intense. That was intense.
Yeah, that was intense.
That's one word for it.
Hey.
Steve was like, make it as big as you want. Would it hit 78 pages or something? I don't know. But the beauty of those books is trying to do a chronological booklet with chronological photos and all the text that goes with that, and somehow make that work on page to page with coming in.
Yeah.
And you take this and move that, and then you have to reformat how that page is built. So that was probably the most challenging thing I've ever worked on.
When you say it like that, it's like, holy cow. Yeah. What the hell?
Hey.
Holy cow.
Yeah. There we go.
Cow. Henry Cal. Okay, so is that what we're going to start with? So I initially asked these guys, oh, I know what we need to talk about first. So there has been, and I know I didn't ask you guys to prepare for this, so I'm putting you on the spot already. But the big news as far as progressive rock reissues goes is that Hawkwind announced a box set for the Hall of the Mountain Grill album. And so I was spinning this last night in search of space. We got any Hawkwind fans here today?
Oh yeah,
Major.
Oh yeah, man.
And top 10 bands.
Top 10, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're in the top 10.
And this is a wonderful album. Like I'm kind of new to them in a way because they were one of those bands that when I first was getting into progressive rock, I didn't think that much of them. But here lately, I guess, yeah, I've started to get into them. I've started to really appreciate what they have to offer. And, I got to be honest, legal cannabis helps a lot.
Hawkwind would not disagree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, there's stories of them, like Rush, the band Rush, were opening for them, and they assembled this enormous joint out of just ounces and ounces and ounces of weed and presented it to the band, and the band smoked the whole thing and went on stage and performed, and it was just like nothing happened. And it's because that's a normal Hawkwind.
That's right. they were in a normal state at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like baseline normal for Hawkwind.
Right.
Big Eyed Bean Vision says, "Love me for some Hawkweed." It's like in search of space. That should be a strain name.
People that can play entire shows on acid and things like that.
Yeah. Do you know how they started?
How did they start?
Well, what they did was in the beginning, there'd be a festival somewhere, and they couldn't get into the festival because nobody knew them. So what they did was they went and hauled all their equipment somewhere close by where the festival was, and they set it all up, and they started playing. And people that were on their way into the festival would divert and go over to watch them instead. That's how they got started.
There you go.
I love that album, In Search of Space. I have an original copy, but there was a booklet that came with it, and I don't have the booklet.
Oh.
And I'm trying to find it online, but haven't had any luck so far.
Well, I won't tell you what I paid for this, but it does have this nice.
There's a booklet.
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't quite like that, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is like a reprint of what came in the original.
Yeah. I'd have to see it up close, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Hawkwind's booklet's bigger than your booklet, Eric. I'm just saying.
Ours is probably cheaper.
That's true.
That's true. But yeah, I've been enjoying this album a lot, and you shouldn't do that. Is like it's like a krautrock track. It's just endlessly repeatable and just riffs forever. But it kind of creates a listening environment that's entirely unique. And the new set, it's rather interesting because I guess the multi-track tapes weren't available for Hall of the Mountain Grill. So they're using Stephen W. Taylor is using AI upmixing, which is similar to what I used on one of your projects, Dave, where I was demixing stuff, pulling stuff out. But evidently the technology has grown even further and further isolation and stuff. But included with it are several concerts. And Stephen W. Taylor has mixed, I think, one of the concerts in 5.1 surround sound. So it carries a hefty price. It's like $150. So I don't know if I'm gonna get it or not. But Hall of the Mountain Grill is a fantastic record, and it's just exciting to see something like that get a celebratory. It's like 7 discs and 2 Blu-rays or something like that.
Wow.
But, yeah, it's a really nice set. Okay, Big Eyed Bean Vision asks, do you know?
Hey,
Gerald Clark's Saga of Hawkwind, over 500 pages. Have any of you guys read that?
No.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I should know more about Hawkwind than I do. I think.
That's a good biography, though. You recommend?
Yeah, evidently so.
Okay. Carol Clerk. Okay.
Carol Clark.
I should come back to Hawkwind. That was like an earlier band, and I've sort of shelved that for a long time. You know, and I tend to do that. I'll come back like a decade later and really hit up something and find something new in it.
Yeah. Yep. I would recommend. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I'd like to point out all of Eric's skateboards on the wall behind him because he's a skateboard punk, you know, from way back when. Yeah.
Did you design those, Eric?
What's that?
I said, did you design those, Eric?
No. But it inspired the hell out of me when I was a kid. That was, you know, like the Tony Hawk and the skulls and the way those were inked. Big fan of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I, as an artist, I've been informed by like everything I'm into is, you know, builds and builds and builds, and then, you know, Moon X stuff comes out.
Yeah, that's how it works. You're receptive. I mean, in my case, it's my ears. I listen and then filter it through my experience, and then it comes out in my work. And I think that's probably true of any, like whether you're doing cover design or you're doing, you know, songwriting, composition, whatever. I mean, you just kind of have to process stuff and then answer to it, essentially.
Right. Then the muses kick in, yeah, and then and they do something with it, yeah.
There is a massive inspiration. Any film guys, you love film, Drew Struzan, amazing guy, you know.
I didn't realize that was all the same. Hold that cover up again. So Revenge of the Sith and Harry Potter and Back to the Future and all those posters were the same dude. I had no idea.
Huh. I've got a few books up there. He's so prolific. Hundreds of movie posters, and you know, getting
wow.
into
Is that what he mostly does?
Yeah, he was hired by film production crews, and late 70s, I think he started working on stuff, and he's just got a very particular style. It's sad because everything now is basically a stolen from Drew Struzan, but just done through photography, and it's just built really that way now. And nobody takes the time to paint and mix media stuff like he did.
So, I was very disappointed. Like I just bought the 4Ks of the Star Wars trilogy, and I thought the cover designs were terrible compared to the posters and stuff that I grew up with. Like I had an original Revenge of the Sith poster.
I mean, how do you
the thing is so great.
The thing, yeah.
The thing is so great.
It's so great.
We did a Eric, if you remember, we did a little tribute to the thing in the Black Steeple Church artwork.
Yeah.
I don't have that on me where I can show it, but it was like I took a photograph within a chapel at the old school I went to at West Liberty University, and I used a slow shutter speed, and I manipulated the zoom, so we had like all these trippy light trails coming out of it, and then we made it into like a gatefold image, and Eric, I remember that was something that we discussed, was that cover of the thing with like the silhouette and then the light pouring in. I think Eric might be looking for a copy of that.
Yep, I've got
what
one.
You got? Oh yeah, sweet. And actually, talking about the Black Steeple Church album, I just dropped about $600 on new plugins, and I've been revisiting this album a little bit. I just did a new mix of Head Splitter from this last night. That sounds terrific. That's one of Eric's original designs there, and then there's my photography that he manipulated.
That's cool. The skull looks like one of your skateboards.
Yeah, it does.
From the back there.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, wheeling it literally means, it's a Native American word for place of the skull. And so that's where that's where that whole idea came from, because I grew up in Wheeling.
That's cool.
But I think we had another comment here. Prog Frog Ian says Joe Banks' Hawkwind Days of the Underground is the go-to Hawkwind book lately. Because Big Eye Bean Vision says that the Carol Clark one he says it's a bit bloated, which, I get that. I mean, I think that if you're like a major fan of a band, you want it to be bloated, like you want to learn as much as you possibly can.
Mhm.
That's kind of the issue sometimes, as much as I mean, I adore these Tull sets that have come out. Sometimes it's almost like too much information.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're hardcore, like there's no such thing as too much information. You do want to know it all. So here's an album that I think this is, Dave, this is from your top 5.
Yes.
You want to talk about why you love Stand Up?
I don't know. I think that's one of those albums that it just takes me right back to high school immediately, They had just come over. They were playing some live shows. My friends and I saw them 3 times. There it is. And around that time, and it just knocked us out. We'd skip school and listen to it on the car stereo. And just every time those songs come on, there's just something magical there for me. It's just one of those records that just takes me right back to the past, and I just love it. I just love the ambience of it, and where it takes me.
Yeah, I've always loved this one too.
Yeah, just a great. There's the Inside. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
That's great. Yep.
I'm so happy that they reprinted it because I missed it the first round, and
Yeah.
I've been grabbing the ones I missed, like Passion Play and this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a good job.
So you've been exploring the 5.1 mix of this, Eric?
Oh yeah.
Any thoughts there?
I'm always really impressed with Wilson's tastefulness. He doesn't take over. It's like the Gentle Giant stuff I was talking to Jerry about. He manages to pull things out of that stereo mix that have been buried.
Right.
And it's sort of, you're like, whoa, what was that? This something will come cruising across your soundscape, and it really has revived a bunch of these songs for me in a lot of ways.
Yep, me too.
That just has a really punchy sound to it, the way that's recorded.
It does.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's very minimal. Like it was like I think this was an 8-track recording, so it's like usually when that happens, like your drums are like a mono track. Like if you have more than one drum track on like an 8-track recording, that's amazing. But and I noticed that like Wilson is drifting those drum tracks hard left a lot of times, like the original mixes, but then on certain songs he does put them in the center to kind of power the mix. And I was kind of appreciating that artistic choice to kind of ride the line between like, oh, let's be reverent to the original choices while also trying to present this in the best way possible. But for me, I mean, this is a record that it's probably one of the first Jethro Tull albums I heard. I know that it was probably one of the first ones that I owned. But I see this as the beginning of classic Tull. Like this it's a little undercooked.
Right.
And he's not like the flute playing isn't quite developed yet. And Mick Abrams, I think, is a wonderful guitarist, but Martin just fits the band so much better.
I think that's the beginning of their voice. They, right there on that album. That's
right.
where their voice really started, I think.
Yep.
And then they followed it with Benefit, which is probably my favorite Tull album. Glenn Cornick was a big influence on me. So
is that right?
On your bass playing?
Yeah.
There it is.
I do have that one.
Worst album art cover out there.
you don't like the little tabs, the little stand-ups?
It's charming, I guess, but it doesn't hold up very well.
The band doesn't either. They didn't.
They didn't like it.
No.
Yeah, Terry Ellis made that cover, I think, without their permission.
Oh yeah.
That's also a great album. Great album.
It's so good.
When you get these amazing books that come in these book-based box sets, Tull does these the best of anyone too.
They do.
This is the best format, I think.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, but I appreciated the opportunity to go back and hear this and do a little bit of reading, and like I love the introduction of like eclectic music. Like I don't know, like you guys would probably be more familiar with stuff from back then, but like aside from people like Family and of course the Beatles, usually when you listen to an album, it was like the same genre from track to track. But I think that this is one of the first albums where rock music, pop music started to include different influences. Like one song might be a blues song, and then the next one might be more folky, like Fat Man. Or you might throw in a classical pastiche, like Beret. It's just such a great album. And, everything from here, like for the next decade or so, is just great. It's just great music.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I love this one. I can't think of many bands who released the first album that was like, it was okay. And then the second one, it's like, bang, fully formed.
Yeah.
We're off and running.
Yeah.
I suppose that era, that happened a lot. Maybe 69, 70. It was sort of the Wild West for signing bands, and labels were just like, yeah, come on. And maybe it's mid 60s more, but
I always say the best decade for music for me was 1967 to 1976.
Yeah.
I mean, there's exceptions, but overall, pre-punk, pre-disco, but starting really with Jimi Hendrix in 67 through 76, you got all those great bands, Led Zeppelin, Tull, Mountain, etc. All the Woodstock bands. Just there was so much free thought in the way they were constructing music then.
Yeah.
And it still resonates with us today.
Yeah,
Right.
and inventing it along the way, all of them.
And I think that's a big part of it, is that back then not a lot had been done yet. It's not like today where everything's been done. It was more open, and I think that like you guys said, record labels were more willing to take chances and release something that it's sort of like I was reading about the beginnings of Virgin Records, and that ties into another choice from today. Richard Branson had come up with this idea where you would sell a record for like only a couple pounds, and it would be at a discount, and that allowed people to take a chance on a band like Henry Cow or Faust that they otherwise wouldn't.
Wow. I should go get mine.
Yeah.
I have a
what's
story.
that?
I have a story about this. I bought this record, and I had no clue what it was about. And I bought it back. It had to be like when it first came out.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, and this is still the same original copy even, but it was Thanksgiving time, I think, and a friend of mine baked a loaf of banana bread, and he said, "Oh, when you get together with your family," he said, "you can all have a piece of banana bread, And he said, "Yeah," and I like to think of it as magic bread, he said. And I said, "Oh, okay, it must be really good, Well, it was laced with weed, major, and I got toasted. And then I'm listening to Henry Cow for the first time, and I'm high as hell.
Do you taste banana when you hear it from at this point?
Maybe that's why I eat 20 bananas a day.
Maybe. Eric, what do you think of the cover of that? Do you think that's a good cover logo? Eric?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. It grabs you immediately, And then they continued that through 3 albums. I thought that was just brilliant to do that. Yeah.
Just the technique of how they did it. Just
yes.
Awesome.
How did they do it? I didn't know that. What was the technique?
Well,
isn't it like a weave? Isn't it like or is it?
Yeah, it's a weave. I'm just from looking at it. It looks like it's almost like painted on wood, with it cut through. But I don't know the story of all that. I never read anything about how they made those socks.
I remember reading about it in the Henry Cow book, but I can't remember what the artist said at the time.
I sort of grazed over it last night, but I kind of forgot. What I was reading.
I think he had an exhibition and an exhibit, and Henry Cow saw it and liked it. And I don't think he actually made it for the album for that first one. I don't think, but
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely commissioned after that. For him.
Yeah, that's such a great identifying logo for them, though. You know.
I don't remember. Go ahead, Ian.
I was going to say, and you have the visual pun of legend, leg end.
Yeah.
That I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no memory of how I even came upon that album, but it was probably 1992 or 3, first year of college, and I remember futzing around in the film department and doing whatever I was doing, but that record was so. I was thinking about this yesterday, how different that was. Just everything about it was just so different. And
Yes.
when I'd heard Zappa, and he opened the door for all the dissonance and all that weird stuff, and this one really came across as something completely different. The instrumentation, the way it was recorded, the sound of the tone of the whole thing, it was just something I'd never heard. And
yes, agree.
I soaked it up instantly and just fell in love. I'm built for that. I'm made for this kind of thing, and it just fit every box and every check.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite albums.
The fact that it sounds like, and their whole philosophy is, I don't want to play the same thing every time. We never want to go to a show. Like, all the links between songs were always improv and different, and everything about that, even when I hear it now, almost sounds like it wasn't constructed or composed in a way. It's like massively constructed and composed, but there's something wild about it. And I think Ian and I were talking a bit, like how Hodgkins, he came in with charts, and then you got Fred over here who wants to go bananas, and the meeting of those two concepts is just so apparent on this album. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Yep. I did. I read a little bit of the Cal biography, The World is a Problem, and that's a thick book, and it does what did he say? Big Eyed Bean Vision called the Hawkwind book bloated. And I don't know if I would accuse the Henry Cal book of that, but it does get into like nitty gritty like music theory about each one of the pieces, and that's a little bit over my head. So I kind of skim through it when I'm reading that. But what I found is kind of opened my eyes and made me hear this. I should say opened my ears and made me hear this record way differently, was kind of what you were saying, Eric, that Hodgkinson was very much, this is my piece. This is how it's going to be. You're all going to play it. And that's the final say. And then Frith was, let's invent stuff on the spot, spontaneity, improvisation, and taking everybody's ideas and basically workshopping them in group rehearsals and taking these little, I think they called them like luffs or something like that, these little segments of music that would be constantly put in different combinations until they kind of flowed in a reasonable way.
Keller would talk about putting it together, different bricks over here and this brick over here, and putting it together like brickwork, kind of,
Yeah, it's like more like editing a movie almost. Like let's try this little vignette here, this little scene, and see how it plays next to this and how it's paced. And when I read that,
I like that idea. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And listening to the album again, that combination of something that's very strict with something that has been kind of created spontaneously and worked out. And then you throw Chris Cutler in the middle, and he's kind of trying to hold it all together. And that's kind of the thrill of Henry Cal. But it's interesting that in the book, everybody involved said that they weren't happy with the album, which is, typical, I think, of many bands. That we all are very self-critical, and it doesn't stop when the record comes out. So they said they didn't feel like it captured their live energy. So I decided to go ahead and play side one of Concerts last night, and just to hear how they progressed over the years. And this is the main performance, like on the first side, is a couple years later, and this is with Dagmar Krause singing. And I hadn't heard it in so long, and I thought, wow, this is some of the most astonishing music ever made. And what amazes me is that I think for a lot of people who are hearing Henry Cow for the first time, they think Dagmar Krause sounds weird, but I found her voice so beautiful and
Yes.
like fitting the
Yeah.
music. And it's like she's just another voice. She's like a flute, you know, that's kind of hovering over top of the whole thing. And this is, both of these albums are great, but I think that it's interesting to compare the version of Nirvana for Mice that's on the live record, because that is intense. That's a really intense version of that song, and I do like it better than the original version. But this is a band, I think I do have the box set behind me somewhere, but I would like to explore them more. I think some more study is needed.
Well, I think Dave's with me on this one, and that all that live concert stuff in the box set is where I go. I barely touch the albums anymore. I'd love to hear how they deconstruct and reconstruct those ideas, and it just sort of shows up. They're like, oh shit, there's part of Ruins, and then they just sort of move off of it again, and that's what I enjoy so much about the live, all the stuff in the Muffins box set. Is you guys are just creating these spaces so influenced by Henry Cow, and I think that's why I appreciate it so much. But I wanted to make another little quick note. Chris Cutler was the other reason that album was so huge for me, because I never heard anybody play drums like that.
Very different. Yeah, very different. Yep.
And I instantly had a visual in my head. What does this guy look like playing this? And I finally saw it, and I was so rewarded.
Yes, it all makes sense, right?
I mean, the
Like a ballet.
rotating arms and the flow, and how he creates the notes with his motion.
Yes.
So different than most drummers. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you're watching a ballet, the way that his movements are so interesting. And you know, oddly, Andy Ward, the drummer for Camel, is the only drummer I think who comes anywhere close. And it's a completely different kind of music. I don't think Henry Cow would be thrilled with me making that comparison, but if you watch him like play Lady Fantasy, some of the movements, I think, you know, I wonder if he did hear Cutler. I wonder if there was a little bit of influence there. Big Eyed Bean Vision says Cutler was once described as more liquid than man.
That sounds about right.
Or then there's Dave Stewart's description of Pip Pile and Octopus on amphetamines. And that's what I think. But and if you've never read the National Health Complete booklet, you have to get your hands on it somehow. Because Dave Stewart as a writer is hilarious.
And a great arranger now too. Like you see Dave Stewart appear as an arranger on a lot of stuff here lately, which is nice to see. So what are we going to talk about next?
You're the host.
Yeah, I'm the host. Well,
You're in charge.
The host of the host.
The host with the most.
The most what?
I think we could kind of continue this sort of Canterbury adjacent conversation. Now, this was Eric's choice again. Prague Frog Ian says Dave Stewart is God.
Pretty much.
So Dave actually chose the fourth album, which I don't have. Don't tell anybody.
Third is great, though. Third is great.
Yeah, but I'll say fourth is, over the past 30 years, become like a fine wine for me. It's gotten better.
That's a good way to put it. It's a fine wine.
It's like third, and the second album were kind of always my favorite, but fourth is right there.
Well, I gained a lot of
mess. I absolutely loved that. The second I heard it, I heard nasty, dirty, grimy stuff coming at me, and I just had to keep hearing more and more and more.
Eric said, "That's for me."
I'll have more grime, please.
Yeah, more dirt, please. Yeah.
So that's kind of the first thing that I noticed when I put this on is wow, this sounds terrible, but the music is great. It's not a great mix or anything like that. It's not captured very well. But you know, I know we're jumping around here, but when I worked on Soft Machine 1971, I gained a lot of appreciation for some of those fourth tracks, like Teeth. You know, when I was going through and every nanosecond scrubbing it and trying to demix it and change.
Wow.
Because the problem was Elton Dean was louder than Mike Ratledge, and I'm holding the wrong recording, but this was a box set that I did a couple years ago. But Elton Dean was too loud, and so I was demixing. I was pulling back Mike Ratledge to kind of reveal Elton Dean, and there were 4 takes of Teeth to go through on those 4 shows. I think it was at least, maybe there was only 2 or 3, but anyway, I heard that song in many different combinations and kind of studied it, and I have a lot of appreciation for that composition in particular.
Oh yeah.
The reason why I did choose third is because it is one that I have in my collection, and it's sort of like Tales from Topographic Oceans. A few years later, it's like it's an album where each side is its own little world, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying to sit down and take it all in one go. It kind of works best to examine each little piece. But so Eric, you chose this. What does this record mean to you? Why do you love it?
My friends and we were all discovering a lot of these bands together, and a lot of it started in high school and into college. And my buddy Warren and I it's hard to remember when we heard these things the first time what we were thinking, but there's something like distant and untouchable about that music, like where it came from, who made it, who are these people. When you first hear these things with no visual representation of anything, it has this mystery and this mystique about it, and the way that thing is recorded, and it's so swampy and heavy.
Swampy.
It like the recording itself never bothered me. It just sort of
me neither. Yeah,
works with it. The music and the recording quality sort of have this meshing vibe together, and it's so heavy the first couple of tunes, and then you get to Moon in June, and it just sort of brightens up and opens the sky, and you get this Wyatt element versus these Ratledge heavy elements. And I don't know, it's just a discovery of that kind of jazz rock sound that I'd never heard. And I'm pretty sure I heard this one first and then worked back and heard 1 and 2. And going from 2 to 3 was like, wow, what's going on here? So it's interesting to work backwards, but that was like what started me on that whole sort of genre of music, jazz rock. I sort of dabbled in music before that, but that was like the precursor for everything else.
Agree.
And something about Ratledge and Hopper. What was it? Ratledge always played solos like one-handed, and he never had breaks in him. Like he would just go, and he wouldn't stop. There was something about that serpentine thing he was doing that just kept grabbing me and bringing me back to it. But Hopper holding that down and this really lurking, super simple but fancy bass lines. Elton Dean is just amazing. I was never a big sax person. I never really gravitated to sax playing, but Elton grabbed me. It's something in the phrasing and the way.
It's like a human voice. His voicing and his phrases are just so good. So good. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a feeling, you get with something sometimes. It was very rare to hear an album the first time, and it works.
First time I heard Soft Machine, I've said this a couple of times, it was like coming home. I knew all these people. It was familiar territory. Like I found my people. I've been searching for you for a long time, and and here you are on this one album, and that's how it felt to me. Like I felt like I'd come home, and that's when I thought, this is the kind of music that I want to make.
Wow.
I first heard them on a compilation. It was made in 1970. It was called Different Strokes. And Out Bloody Rages was on that compilation. And that's the very first time I ever heard Soft Machine.
That's a good one.
In 1970, So yeah, and actually that song has been on more live versions of Soft Machine than any other song, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
I would argue that the live versions are much stronger too than the one that's on here.
Yeah, I've got quite a few live albums by Soft Machine, and that song is, I think, on every one of them.
Yep.
Pretty much. Anyway, pretty close.
Yeah, it's very memorable to me too, because I've worked on the 70 and the 71 set, and I think it appears on both a couple of times. But that I would honestly say that when I think of Soft Machine, that's probably the song that comes to mind. Is Out Bloody Rageous, and it's a great title too. It's a great memorable title. But I didn't realize that Moon and June was pretty much all Wyatt.
It's all Wyatt until Ratledge and Hopper come in about the middle. But that's all.
There's some violin too, right?
Yeah, Rob Spile on violin at the end, but that's it. But that's all Wyatt in the whole first half, I think, is all Wyatt.
That's incredible. And I guess that was...
I was going to say, have you heard the 68 release that Steve put out?
No, I should hear that.
Because a lot of the early workings that Wyatt did on that tune are on there. They're also on another compilation of Wyatt.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's recordings on there of him, just with his own cassette tape doing it. Beautiful stuff. Even the rawest versions are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a different kind of musician. He opened up so many different kinds of genres and broke through different envelopes, and just amazing what he was trying to do with pop music and stuff. It was very different. Yeah.
Duets.
That Robert Wyatt, you guys sent him this, and he said he saw it and he liked it, and
he liked it.
Knowing that my name was on this thing and he was holding it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm going.
And Jerry's on that too. Yeah,
I'm going back like in my memory a few years, but I'm almost positive somewhere along the lines Robert had to approve of my master on both. I think definitely 1970, but I think he did have very enthusiastic things to say
good
about my work. So that was like my thing. And then I know he liked the Nick Prohl album that we did. Me and Dave did. I think he heard that too.
Good.
So yeah, I've brushed up against Wyatt somewhat. I know that John Marshall, the drummer who was after him, I worked with him on an edit over email for a 1973 performance that's over there. But I remember his comment was, well, I can tell I didn't play this, but your edit is so musical that I could have played it. And that was like, oh.
That's nice.
Yeah,
nice
that was very kind.
I always appreciated Wyatt's playing as a drummer. He's always been one of my favorite drummers.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Easy, and he only had a little span there, but works at all.
The first Soft Machine album was never my favorite Soft Machine album, but it was the first time I heard them. And then the second one, the third one, and they just continued to blow my mind. But when I went back years later to listen to that first album, his drumming on that is unbelievable on the first Soft Machine. Nobody was playing in rock like him except for maybe Mitch Mitchell. That's it, But man, is he good. Wow.
Now, I was going to ask you guys, because I read that at one point Robert worked with Jimi Hendrix. Did anything ever come out of that? Was anything released from that?
I don't think so, but they did. They were planning something, I think. But yeah, I don't think anything came from it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Obviously, you got Mitch's drums, and that was rad.
But I know that famously, like they opened for Hendrix or something like that, and
yes, in the U.S.
Hendrix, Hendrix introduced Ratledge to the distortion pedal, which is a huge part of their. Was it Rat or was it Hopper? Who was using the distortion pedal? Was it? I think it was the bass player, Hopper. But that being a huge part of like the Canterbury sound is like the distorted bass sound.
Oh yeah, it's that fuzz bass. Oh yeah,
fuzz bass. But the only thing I was going to mention, because I love this album, but I didn't have like the epiphany the first time I heard it. For me, it was something I had to work at a little bit to appreciate. And I think a lot of that has to do with the opening of Facelift, Mike Ratledge he's playing just shrieks of hellish noise for like a minute and a half straight.
He's destroying the organ.
Yeah,
live for us all to.
and you know, I think that
I always pictured him stabbing it with swords and knives and stuff, but yeah. Good
yeah,
Lord.
of course, Keith Emerson actually did stab an organ with a knife. So
yes,
there was some precedence for that. But that's almost like it's almost like Frownland at the front of Trout Mask. It's like if you can get past this first minute and a half, you're up for anything that comes after. Because actually, the rest of Facelift can be quite beautiful at times. And I was going to mention that Slightly All the Time is one of my favorite Soft Machine tracks because it just seems to run the gamut of all kinds of different moods and situations. And it's one of those songs that you can close your eyes and you can just paint pictures in your mind as what might be occurring. But yeah, Slightly All the Time, and I think Moon and June are my picks from this album. But I appreciate you guys having me digging this out again. This is another band I'd like to spend more time with, learn more about.
It's a good one.
So what's next? We want to talk some Frank?
Sure.
Sure.
So I can't remember who exactly chose Hot Rats. Was that Dave?
That was me.
And I guess I will kind of talk about this first, and then I'll let, because this is a major album for me. Nice. Oh, that book is fantastic. I do want to talk about that. We did have one comment here. One bootleg single with Hendrix on bass with Robert can be found. I would love to hear that.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard that. Oh,
it really sounds rough. Yeah, I've heard bootlegs from those tours with Hendrix, and they're all equally horrible. And I don't like bootlegs, so
I wonder what bootleg that is because I probably have it.
I do somewhere.
I've got like 80 or 90 Hendrix albums on vinyl.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of bootleg. So I'll have to go and look and see what that is.
You have more Hendrix albums than I have albums. Just saying.
Probably.
Talking about see, this is what I'm bringing to the party here. The Hot Rats Sessions box set. But I will ask you to about Hot Rats here in just a second. But this was a big deal for me when this came out. This Hot Rats Sessions box set, because I didn't understand the way that this album was put together, because it kind of sounds like they sat up and played it live. And that, I think that's one of the reasons why this album is so endearing and so enduring, is that it does have a live kind of spark to it. But I never realized that it was recorded in sections. Like Frank would just like bring in a little bit of written material and give it to these session players, and he would work out these sessions in the studio and then figure out how it all was put together later. It was sort of similar to how Frith was putting together his Henry Cow compositions, except that Frank was using the razor blade and editing to make that work. But some of the coolest stuff on this box set is when Frank would just let his musicians go, like for half an hour or more, and then edit it down, and he would change the order of things. So like there's the song on here that's called Another Waltz. And to me, that's maybe the most impressive, most interesting piece of the puzzle, because Another Waltz is basically King Kong. It's like the same vamp, and it's same time signature and everything, but John Sugarcane Harris is there on violin, and Frank gets to blow a solo at one point. But that improv that John Sugarcane Harris did was reorganized and re-edited into Little House I Used to Live In. That jam that's on Burnt Weenie Sandwich. And when I heard this just completely opened my mind as to what was possible. And I spent the better part of those are some we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I spent the better part of like 21, 22 making an album called Black Steeple Church. And that's how a lot of that was put together, was like guided improvisations, recording things in sections. And then later on, I was editing it all together in multi-track so that I could also mix it. But I would have never thought to do that if not for, Joe Travers and Zappa Records, Universal. I don't know if they were involved. Yeah, they were. Universal and everybody putting something like this together that allows you to be the detective to put together how Frank, it's like deconstructing it so that you can put it back together in your mind. And I find this fascinating as a fan of Frank Zappa, but it's like, it's a piece of, it's like learning material. It's like something I actually like really learned from. But Eric, let's talk about that book you were holding up. I can grab my copy in just a second.
This book really opened my eyes to how much Frank did on this album by himself with a razor blade. I mean, sitting at a little desk with your reels in front of you. I mean, he built this album off of that little desk. I mean, he just sitting there working with just reels and reels of this stuff, just constructing this amazing genius album. I mean, those days and that working technique of making music. I mean,
razor blades and splicing tape. Yeah.
I mean, wow. I watched my mom splice, Super 8 film, taught me how to edit film and things like that. And I'm thinking about him doing this with audio.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the photo here. Maybe Eric, you can look for it. But there's a photo in here where Frank is at his editing desk, and he can barely get his legs under the thing. It's so cramped, and he's got the take-up reels on his lap.
Wow.
And he's just kind of hunched over it like that, working on it. And what he's editing there is Peaches and Regalia. That's what he's working on right there.
Wow.
So are you guys familiar with this book, Dave and Jerry?
I have the box set. I haven't looked at the book in a long time.
Okay, this is a book. I don't think this wasn't part of the box set, but it was released around the same time.
Oh, okay.
But Bill Gubbins was a Frank Zappa and the Mothers super fan, and he was like 19 years old or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he met Frank. He's actually from the same part of the world that I'm currently living in. He was from Youngstown, Ohio. I'm living in Steubenville, but he was in Youngstown, and he saw Frank in like Bowling Green or something like that, and he met him, and he was nervous, but he was able to talk with Frank, and Frank agreed to an interview after his show, and something happened, with the show where Frank was kind of tired of answering questions. And 19-year-old Bill said, well, here, I'll give you a ride back to your hotel. And, here's Frank crammed in this car with Bill and his friends. They go back to the hotel. Frank says, here, check out our new album cover, and shows him the Hot Rats album.
Wow.
And he says, Bill's on his way out, and he says, well, okay, can we get together again? Can we maybe do an interview next time you're in town? Frank says, okay, Bill, why don't you fly out to LA in a couple of days and sit in on my recording sessions and take photos.
Wow.
And so, this kid borrows $250 from his parents, which is like over $1,000 in today's money. And, just takes a risk, flies out to LA, ends up at the Zappa house. And before long, he's sitting in on the overdub sessions with Frank and Ian Underwood. At Whitney Studios, and then the other studio. Anyway, Sunset Sound. That was the other studio that they hung out at. But like this image on the cover here, that's Frank cutting the solo from "Son of Mr. Green Jeans." Like, dude was capturing history, and this was like right at the moment when the first Mothers were breaking up, and Frank was starting to come into his own as a solo artist, and so it's just absolutely incredible moment in history that everything just kind of lined up just right.
Is that a separate book that you can just get as a book?
Yeah.
It's not part of anything, or okay.
It's a separate book, and Steve has it at Wayside. If you want to
just
check
called
it out.
the Hot Rats book. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this book it's basically a book of photography, but Ahmet Zappa, Frank's son, is interviewing him. So as you're reading the interview, you're seeing the photos that correspond to the part of his story. And I highly recommend. I sat there and read this in like one sitting, cover to cover. And I think what amazed me the most is just how kind Frank comes across in the book. Like, he's got a reputation, I think, for not always being a kind man, but here he comes across very approachable, very sweet, very down to earth. Talks about like how great of a listener he was. Like, if somebody talked, Frank gave them like attention, like they were the only person that mattered in the world. And I think that that's what I enjoyed most, is that, and I would extend that to a lot of these like archival releases that have come out in books, is that I definitely get more of a sense of who Frank was as a human now than I ever did. But
Ruth Underwood's comments about him are always the ones I go for. Or Pauline Butcher's book is a really good one talking about Frank.
Jocko says, "Hi, Ian O. Hey, Dave. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Jocko.
Hey. Here's a Frank Zappa scholar. So if we get anything,
oh yeah, Jocko knows the deal. That's for sure.
So okay, Dave, you chose this one. We'll start with you. Oh, Dave's heading out.
Okay, nope.
We'll start with you. So what does the Hot Rats album mean to you?
Oh, I don't know. I remember hearing it. I was in high school, and I'd been a Frank Zappa fan since the beginning. But then Hot Rats came out, and it just, knocked my socks off. It was so strong and so powerful all the way through it. Peaches on Regalia, that just became part of my DNA as far as composing goes. I just thought that was one of the best composed rock tunes I had ever heard. And I just love that album. That's another one that just takes me back, like Stand Up does.
Same year too, same time period, which is interesting.
Is this the first time that Zappa and Beefheart were on the same album together? I wonder.
I don't know.
Was Hot Rats or was Trout Mask before this? I think Trout Mask was before this.
69. It's probably right in there. Yeah.
I think even Bill Gubbins at one point says that Trout Mask Replica was made in the very room that he was sitting in. So I think Trout Mask was already out.
Oh,
well, this was October of 69 when this came out. So
yeah, and I think Trout Mask was like earlier on, like spring.
Well, like Jerry says, that was such a great time,
Yeah.
68, 69, 70, 71. Wow. Such a good time for music.
I'm going to have to get you a copy of this, Dave. Do you have that?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's pretty massive, but it's...
Oh, is that the one that was written by... Grumbo. I Steve loaned it to me, and I was afraid to read it because Beefheart comes across so like a narcissist. I was afraid. I didn't want it to be, disappointed.
Yeah. I think it's the abuse that French describes. It's hard to. I don't want to think less of Beefheart, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything that would harm my enjoyment.
But you think that, there's more in there to enjoy aside from that part of it.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot to it.
I've heard other people talk about Beefheart, like when he played with Zappa on the 75 tour and whatnot. He was actually a very pleasant person to be around, and I always wonder about that.
Yeah. I don't know what's real and what's not real.
It's like the terror of recording Trout Mask Replica, I'm sure, set the plate for other people's expectations of him. Draconian slave master, maniac kind of guy.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Gubbins describes meeting Captain Beefheart in the book that we were talking about, and he says that Frank was cool. Frank just played everything cool and was relaxed. But when Don came in, he had just shaved his mustache, and I guess it was like the Van Dyke style, like he has in Clear Spot. And he says that Don was just getting in his face, going, "You like my mustache? What do you think of my mustache?" and on one hand, you have Frank saying, "Hey, do you mind if I play some guitar?" And Bill's like, yeah, geez, come on. Yeah, sure. I don't mind if you play some guitar.
I remember that
And
part of the book.
he gets like a 20-minute Frank Zappa solo guitar, extravaganza. And then Beefheart's like, what do you think of my mustache? Do you like it? You like my mustache?
What's funny is that Toads of the Short Forest have the best guitar part for me, and that's what shows up on the Hot Rat box is the arabesque full-blown take of that. And that's one of the best things off that box set for me.
Yes. Jocko says Beefheart was schizophrenic, so he could either be a sweetheart or a terrible guy, depending on the period. He sort of mellowed down from 75 on, although he remained erratic. Yeah, I buy that.
One story was that the original band, Beefheart's original band, was supposed to play, I believe it was Woodstock. They were actually scheduled to play Woodstock. And I didn't know that. And they were just rehearsing for the show. And a couple of days before the show happened, maybe a week, but Beefheart, they were rehearsing and Beefheart falls over and he grabs his chest and he's going, oh my God, oh. And Ry Cooder got so upset about that. And the whole band was just wondering if he was having a heart attack or what the hell was going on. He started laughing. And Ry Cooder got so pissed off, he quit the band right then and there. And then they couldn't play the concert.
Oh,
wow. That's crazy.
That just killed the whole entire. I mean, Beefheart pretty much remained in obscurity. Can you imagine if he would have played Woodstock?
Yeah.
And then on that album, on the Woodstock album.
I wonder what they'd have edited out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's often this misconception, I think, among some music fans that like Beefheart was the serious artist, and Frank was like, pretentious narcissist. And well, I was wondering, what do you guys think of that? Do you think Beefheart was more the artist, or do you think that's a load of crap?
I don't know. Artist is a loaded term. What artistic, like creative. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I go for that.
What would that have been? Was that the Safe as Milk band? Is that what would have played Woodstock?
Yeah.
Yep.
I really like that album, actually. That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, somebody just said Monterey Pop Festival. They're right. I'm confusing Woodstock with the Monterey Pop.
Oh, Monterey Pop was the one they did not play?
Yeah.
Wow. Still, the exposure would have been
fantastic. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, speaking of Hot Rat, that was it's songs like Willie the Pimp, followed by Little Umbrellas. I really enjoy things like that. You've got this sort of
juxtaposition of those two things. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I like Ian, you and your buddy, what's his name?
Jocko?
No. Mike. Yeah. How you're talking about album constructions and how things flow on an album and how this song might like really be like, what? Why is that on here? And those sorts of things, like an oddball one. I just saw some YouTube video yesterday where it seems like amazing albums that are ruined by one song. And, well, that's the album I want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
That's very subjective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there are those sort of like perfect records, but I like when artists are artists and they pull a crazy Ivan, but they'll just make a left turn somewhere. I think that's why I appreciate bands like Henry Cow and guys like Zappa, and they do the things that are unexpected, and it keeps me on my toes because I'm not a dancer and I don't want to dance, but I can dance to that stuff because it's just pure lunacy kind of craziness. I don't know. It's how my mind works. I need crazy music to calm me down.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that comment about Frank's feel for sequencing and editing. Yeah. Very good. Yep.
I was just going to mention, like, there are some fans, I think, who would prefer one side or the other of Hot Rats, because Hot Rats really does show two different sides of Frank Zappa. Like Willie the Pimp, Son of Mr. Green Jeans, and the Gumbo Variations are very improvisationally based, and they're like kind of the jazz rock songs. Whereas Peaches and Regalia and Little Umbrellas and It Must Be a Camel are more the through composed compositional pieces. And I don't really necessarily prefer one over the other. It's kind of more what I'm in the mood for. But I like this comment from Pork Butts and Taters. That's like, well, if you're into that sort of thing. But anyway, where was I going with that? But yeah, it's the balance. It's the balance of the two approaches, I think, that are what keeps me coming back to this album in particular. But that being said, if I were to pick a favorite song, I think it's Little Umbrellas, because I just think that melody is totally magical. And Peaches and Regalia, that's the other one that's just the all-time classic from this album. But from that other side, that improvisational side, like Son of Mr. Green Jeans, I think is just endless well of enjoyment. And so this is a terrific album, and I've enjoyed going back to the sessions this week and listening to it. I've enjoyed reading Bill's book, and I'm kind of just putting a feeler out here, but I would love to do a deep dive on my channel of Hot Rats, and just explore basically the original album and the remix, and then going back to the sessions and see how it's all put together. And that I'm looking for feedback here from viewers and from you guys on the panel here. But if that's something you think you could watch, I would love to put that together.
Well, I'd love to highlight Ian Underwood's work on that too, because I mean,
oh yeah,
Ian is so underappreciated, or not really. I mean, Zappa fans know, but hidden hero. I mean, Ian's amazing.
Oh, yeah. He was my woodwind keyboard hero. Yeah, I idolized what he did.
Yeah. I find that to be those two guys, that collaboration, that's the nucleus of the Hot Rats album. It's the meeting of the minds between Ian Underwood and Frank. And I like Jocko's comment here. I like how he approached the production of Son of Mr. Green Jeans. He had Ian Underwood transcribing improvised guitar lines, made them part of the written composition. Yeah, and that sort of style, like that, continues even to like Waka Jawaka,
which is also what Henry Cow would do as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, they would write material that they could not play, and then they'd go back and learn
it. Jocko says, "Do it." Do you guys know what he's referencing there?
No.
That's the album Aphrodite's Child called 666. There's a song where they go, "Do it."
Oh, I don't know that album. Yeah.
I don't know that one either.
It's a meme between me and Jocko. You guys should check that one out. That's a crazy psychedelic progressive album.
Oh yeah, I've seen it referenced hundreds of times, but I've never really listened to it.
Vangelis, the composer from Blade Runner, is kind of the main cat behind Aphrodite's Child. So it's like an early Vangelis album, but it's so different from what he did later, because like what Vangelis is known for is like sort of like the John and Vangelis albums, where it's like very atmospheric, keyboard laden, synth heavy compositions. But Aphrodite's Child is like a crazy prog rock album, psychedelic prog album. So yeah, I recommend that to you guys if you've never heard it. All right. Was there anything else we wanted to say about? I mean, I could talk about Hot Rats. That's the problem I had with preparing for this live stream, is I felt like I could talk about any one of these albums for an hour or two, and the hard part is trying to talk about all of them in a way that fits, and it's also kind of entertaining. But was there anything else we wanted to mention before we do? What are we going to do next? Oh, we're going to talk about the Beatles. That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
So this was another Dave pick.
Say I'm a Revolver guy. I love those.
I love Revolver.
My guitar gently weeps.
Yeah, Yeah, this was another one that just listened to it in high school. In fact, there was a guy in high school who would, this is terrible to admit, he would steal records and then sell them to the students like at a discounted price, you know. And so that was the one and only black market album that I bought from him. But that was my first album. The White Album was how I got that album was from him. And man, that is so diverse. Everything on there that's just it still clicks with me. Another one that takes me back because it's high school. It takes me right back to that time. You know, every time I hear it.
I was a late bloomer on the Beatles, and to be honest, I'm kind of more with Jerry. I'm more of like a Revolver guy, and Rubber Soul too. That's another really great one. But I had a lot of fun going back and revisiting this because I think it had been a while since I listened to the whole thing. The White Album tends to be an album that I do skip around with a lot because there are some songs that I'm not as crazy about. So it was nice to sit down and hear the whole thing. And my impression was that like basically the whole first half of the first album is just all killer. Some of the stuff on side 2 is I'm not as crazy about. But I think what surprised me the most is that the second record, it almost doesn't have a single bad track on it. Like everything's great on this, even like the birthday song. It's goofy, but it's fun. You know, it's very creative. And I was even kind of digging the Revolution Number 9 as kind of like a follow up on Frank's Lumpy Gravy period. But yeah, this is Big Eye Bean Vision says picking a best Beatles is impossible. And he might be right about that.
It is impossible. Yeah.
Dear
so
Prudence,
Dave, were you at
Dear Prudence is the one on that album that really gets me. I love that tune.
Oh yeah.
Same. Yeah.
And Happiness is a Warm Gun. That's one of my favorite Beatles tunes.
We used to play Blackbird. I played Blackbird in a band.
See, my wife plays Blackbird a lot. That's another beautiful one.
Yeah. You know, my funny story with Blackbird is that's one of those songs that I think I heard a million bad covers of. And I'm not saying your guys' covers are one of them because I've never heard them.
Probably was.
I've heard like a million bad covers of Blackbird in like a crappy bar. And it does color your opinion of a song if you hear it so many times performed poorly.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't go back to the source and hear what the original sounded like. And I was listening to this and I kind of went to bed thinking, you know, Blackbird, that song is just not very hot. I just don't care for it. And then the next day I woke up and I had it in my head and I started playing it back and I go, yeah, you know what? That song's kind of clever. Now
see,
you know,
that's Paul's thing. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Hook.
He gets right in your head. Yeah.
Yep. That's a clever tune. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know which one that I've really come to like after all this time is Don't Pass Me By with Ringo singing. I love that now. I just absolutely love that.
Yeah, and I'm so tired. That's been my theme song for the last 5 years.
Everybody can relate to that, right?
Yes. But like I like how almost like the Beatles are heading towards punk on some of these the second disc.
Yeah, well, the thing that was amazing about the album is that they could pull off almost every genre that they tried there, you know, and there's so many different styles and different genres, and they could pull it off. It's just amazing to me.
Now, Dave, were you one of those Beatles fans who were there from the beginning? Like, did you see them on Sullivan?
Oh yeah, I saw them on Sullivan. Although at the time, my best friend Chris, his older brother and sister, insisted on watching it when it came on, and so we had to watch it with them. And I became a fan after that. But Chris and I were really upset because it was interesting. It was interrupting our watching Scarecrow of Romney Marsh on the Disney Channel, and that's what we wanted to see. And the Beatles were on, and everybody was watching that, and so we'll watch that, and then we were fans after that. Then I had Twist and Shout. I had the 45, and I played that till it turned white. know. So yeah, I was a fan from the very beginning. Yeah.
I Want to Hold Your Hand was my first one.
Yep.
First 45, yeah.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
We're dinosaurs, Dave and I.
We're about to get the visitation. 10 seconds. Get ready.
What does that mean?
Play the theme. Here we go.
Yeah.
Servo! There he is.
Yeah.
Servo butt.
Yep.
He always
Butt shot.
finds his way.
Hi, sweetie. I don't know where Monty is. Yeah.
What's your favorite Beatles song, Servo? If the live stream shuts down, you know why.
Okay.
Back.
Servo, don't push that button.
Yeah. I might prevent that.
There we
Alrighty.
go. Hi.
Hey, hi to everybody. Okay. It's like, if I can't bug, I'm not happy.
Finbot doesn't like being held, so he'd probably be up here for like 10 seconds and then want to rip my arm off.
Yeah. He's a punk cat.
Yeah, he's a troublemaker.
Should we talk about Captain Beyond? Was that another one we were going to talk about? Is that one of Jerry's?
Yeah, I didn't have much of a chance to listen to that. But I would be curious if anybody in the chat are any of you folks familiar with that album, Captain Beyond?
I'm not, but I know it's one of Jerry's favorites.
I know the album, but I haven't heard it, but maybe a couple times.
No, don't shut down the live stream, buddy.
And what did some of those musicians go on to start other bands after Captain Beyond, or they came from other bands?
Actually, Lee Dorman on bass came from Inagata Davida.
Oh, from Iron Butterfly?
Yep. And Larry Reinhardt on guitar came from the Metamorphosis album by Iron Butterfly.
Oh.
Rod Evans was the first singer in Deep Purple on the first 3 Deep Purple albums. And Bobby Caldwell played with Johnny Winter and he was on drums. And so the 4 of them got together, but unfortunately they were on Capricorn Records, and I don't think Capricorn knew what to do with them. They didn't promote them properly. Capricorn was mostly like a southern rock kind of thing with the Allman Brothers. And Larry Reinhardt, the guitarist, played in a band called The Second Coming with Dickie Betts prior to Captain Beyond and prior to
Allman Brothers.
And I think that's probably why they got into the Capricorn label. But they really didn't know what to do with them all that much. And
were they pretty much prog?
Oh, it's very prog. It's like
hard rock in Prague.
It's like hard rock, heavy metal, some Latin in there actually a little bit, and prog. It's real heavy prog.
Huh.
It's a guitar driven band, and there's it's just basically 3-piece guitar, bass, drums with Rod Evans on the vocals. Yeah, and then with the second album, Reese Winans from Stevie Ray Vaughan's band played with Larry Reinhardt, and he shows up on the second album by Captain Beyond. This one here, and this one's quite a bit different than the first album. It's got more of actually it kind of sounds like Santana in a lot of ways.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Joshua says he's a big fan of the first Captain Beyond. I always liked their name. I thought they had a great name for a band,
I would always bump into them when I was searching for Captain Beefheart. And so I think I always had like a mental block. Those guys.
Man, Soft Cell was always showing up, and King Diamond.
Yes.
And you know what I was looking for? Not those two, Soft Machine and King Crimson. So
Well, speaking of, yeah, we do have a Crimson here on the docket, but yeah, I just spent a little bit of time with that Captain Beyond. I was kind of getting ready for the stream when I was listening to it, and I was thinking like Camel's Mirage. That album is like it's like a hard rock and prog album, but I found the Captain Beyond was a lot more on the heavy rock side than maybe Camel would be. But I was also thinking a little bit of if you guys know Space Shanty, the Steve Hillage and Dave Stewart album. It was kind of sitting in that area of musical terrain. So would you agree with that, Jerry?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Really?
No, I would agree a little bit. Yeah, with Hillage hitting guitar on Khan, right? Yeah.
Yep, Khan. Yep.
Oh, Khan. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Star Trek, like Khan.
Yep, I do. I have it on CD, but I haven't played it for quite a while. So
that's a good comparison. Yeah, it rocks out. It definitely has a prog edge.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of sophistication to it, but it's also a rocker.
I listen to it a lot, because Hillage could play anything if he wanted to.
Yeah, I love that style. It was, like I said, very guitar driven. I think I've got 5 Captain Beyond albums.
Wow.
Well, then there's Zany
studio and 2 live.
I could hear that in that Zany Stardust CD that helped you on.
Zany Star Blaster, yeah.
Star Blaster, yeah.
Yeah, we always wanted to learn some Captain Beyond and play it, but we never did. Never got around to it. So.
Yeah, that's a band that I used to hear on like XM radio. I would see that come up and I would listen to them. I'm pretty sure that I've heard them on my Apple, because I'll play Apple Music while I'm driving and I'll just put it on random. And I'm pretty sure I've had like that first track on that first album come up because it was familiar to me when I played it. So yeah, that's a band that I need more time to explore to say anything of merit about. But I guess now it's time to get beyond Captain Beyond. And we're going to talk about King Crimson.
I see what you did there.
How's that for a segue?
Well, I thought you were going to do Starless.
Oh no, we were going to talk. I can talk about either. Honestly, right. I didn't listen to Larks, Tongues, and Aspic this week, but the truth is that this one and Starless and Bible Black and Red are ingrained in my memory. So I think I can pretty much just talk about them at will. But what I did check out though is I watched the Radio Bremen performance. Have you guys seen that?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
It's an early performance with Jamie Muir, and it's the only, I think, video footage with Jamie Muir that's available. And they do like a 20-minute just free improv. And it starts off like a wall of noise. And then it gradually just gets more and more, like it uncovers more musicality as it goes along. But yeah, you see Jamie in like the animal skins and doing all the little toys and stuff. And, at that point, like you can, there's Boots.
Bootsy.
There's big boy now. Wow.
Hi, sweetie. He's found a forever home. We're so happy for him. Yeah.
Oh.
He just came in, so
I thought about introducing us by our cats' names. That maybe next time.
Those markings are cool. It's so weird.
Yes. Beautiful tuxedo. Yeah.
See, that's the only thing I miss about leaving Facebook is I don't get to see Bootsy as much as I used to.
I don't see anybody.
I don't see as much Monty either. So,
He's sending purrs to all of you.
Yay! Well, thank you, Bootsy.
I needed some purrs today.
Eric, you don't miss Facebook at all, do you?
No, once I got hacked, I was done.
Oh, is that what happened? I didn't know that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 2 years now. Yeah, got I was looking for an excuse to get off of there. I was staying on for the music in this community and to keep tabs on my cousins and whatnot. But it became a repetitive machine operation for me that I just could not enslave myself to anymore.
Yeah.
The same
Talk about the doom scroll.
Oh, somebody posted that again. It was, and when I got hacked, even with two-factor, I was like, that's enough. I'm
Yeah. Well, good.
I got sick of the doom scrolling, and I felt like with Facebook, I felt like me being on Facebook was exacerbating my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And it was preventing me from being as creative as I wanted to be, and it was preventing me from like listening carefully and stuff. And like I'd be like mixing, and I'd be on Facebook, and I'm like, you know what, I need to find a way to exist without it. And that's why I started on YouTube. Because YouTube, I can control the audience, I can control more of what I see, and not only that, but I think that there's a lot more of value on YouTube. Like you can see like a documentary. Like I watched the Chicago documentary this week, and that that's something that I wouldn't have access to if not for YouTube. But let's talk some Crimson. So this was one of your picks, Eric, and tell us a little bit about Larks tongues.
It's a fun one because I sort of came at it from the Bruford perspective because I was a big Yes fan first, and I think 90125 was actually the first Yes I really got into as a kid. But knowing Bill Bruford's playing, and it was all part of that group thing when all my friends in high school and in that college era there, we were just discovering everything, going to record shows and going downtown in Atlanta and just digging through bins, and by association, who was in this band, who opened for that band, oh, who this band member, and it just became a big mess of, oh, what did Bruford do? Oh, he went to this band King Crimson after Yes, and I loved Yes so much because of him and being a drummer at the time. I was fascinated with the Jamie Muir part of it because it was Bruford being informed by this guy who was a percussionist who no one really knew who he was, like this mystery who became a monk later, right?
Yeah, that's what King Crimson does to people. Turns them into monks.
And then and then Fripp will beat you out of using symbols over time too. But just something about the way that album started and the way it built up, and holy shit, when you hear the surround mix of that build up, and when it hits you and it starts to run, it's just jaw on the floor stuff. Like I heard it and it just sent goosebumps up my arms instantly. It's just one of those things that you just feel and experience, and you just know it's right. It's like coming home, like Dave said. This entire album was like that. It had a warmth to it, the way it's recorded, the way the instruments are recorded, everything about it, the way it's mixed. It just hit every checkbox again. There's just some relationship between those particular musicians, the way Wetton just wants to blast over everybody with their bass, and Bruford wants to just fill every little nook and cranny with notes, but Fripp won't let him do that. And there's this like control struggle going on with this band a lot, that when you start to read about how they built this album and how it was made, and where Fripp wanted all this control but couldn't have it, because of these personalities in there. I don't know. There's some tension in this album, but it's a tension that's elastic, and I can't come up with the right words for it, but love. And
I think tension's a really good word for it. I think it's good.
They're big passages where there's sort of not a whole lot going on, but there is. I don't know how to describe it.
An atmosphere.
Yeah, it's just a balance that they strike with this one. That it's all studio stuff too, and Starless and Bible Black has a lot of live bits in there, and I love how Zappa and Fripp did those types of things too. But this is just it's like a quality studio thing that I don't. Red was different. This is different.
Yeah.
But I come back to it all the time. I don't know what it is. I come back to it. I listen to it like once a month. I swear it's just always there. It's like how Steven Wilson was talking about the Tangerine Dream album. You like the
Zeit. That's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, they're just those handful of albums that are just always going to be your go-to. And
yeah,
I don't know, they just work.
I read an article. It was an interview, part of an interview with Bill Bruford. He said that when he quit Yes and went over to King Crimson, he said that with Yes they would spend 2 hours trying to figure out if they were going to end the song on a C or on a G note. And they would just sit there and discuss it, and he would just sit there on his drum kit waiting for them to figure it out, pour it out of his skull. Well, when he got over to King Crimson, he said there was none of that because everybody just knew what to do.
Yep.
There were no discussions. They just knew automatically right away what they were going to do, and that was it. And I find that very telling because, we always think of Yes as being all these great masters of their instruments and everything, but yet they had to try to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And whereas when they got to King Crimson, he said that everybody just knew what to do right away. They didn't have to think about music theory or anything like that, whether this note was proper or not. They just knew what to do.
That's what made me laugh about like actual recording, how long they're in the studio and stuff. Because I heard Yes was notoriously, they'd been there for months and months and months. And then I hear stories about Jethro Tull recording Thick as a Brick in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean,
and writing it in the studio as they go along. Yeah.
Right.
I think there's something about following your gut, trusting it, and committing. And there's something about that I think that resonates with people. I mean, even decades down the line, because a recording is really, you're just capturing a moment. And, I think that's the Larks Tongues album, that it captures a specific moment, a specific time for this band. And, this is, essentially a super group. You've got John Wetton from Family coming in. You've got Bill Bruford from Yes. I'm not sure I don't think Muir had a group or anything, but I could be wrong about that.
He started with the Improvisation Music Company, which, if you listen to that album, it's free. It's British free sound, not jazz, but just free improvised sound, and that's where he came from, which is astounding that he would make the jump from that to King Crimson. But he did, and brilliantly. And
I think that if you guys get a chance, that 1972 Radio Bremen video is awesome because it captures the band before going into the studio to record Larks, Tongues, and Aspic, and you can kind of get a sense like this was ground zero. It was called King Crimson, but it was ground zero for a completely new band. Like they had agreed, we're not playing any of the old material.
Right.
We're going to base this around improvisation. It's like 40% of a King Crimson set back there would be totally improvisation, which sort of filters into. Sorry,
I was going to say, and rock improvisation, which is different than jazz improvisation. I find that really interesting. Rock improvisation,
But it's not like a lot of bands would play like a blues lick or something like that, like a 12-bar blues, and then play that into the ground for 22 minutes. But this is everybody's. Has to listen. They have to keep their ears open, but not just that. They have to be aware of each other to the point where they can predict where somebody's going to go next. That's hard. That takes time to build.
Yeah.
This kind of lends itself into the Starless and Bible Black conversation, because I think that Starless and Bible Black was even more about combining improvisation, like 40% improvisation with composition.
And hats off to Fripp, who seems to be a real tough taskmaster, maybe, but he would allow that he loved to let that improvisation be part of the main engine. So hats off to him
Yeah.
for being able to do that. Because I know he's very in his compositions, he's very particular.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Discipline. There we go.
Word.
Good title for an album.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like when The Great Deceiver came out. I mean, it just, my friends and I, we all lost our shit. I mean, we didn't realize how much improvisation happened at shows.
Yeah.
It really just, it made them even more of a favorite for me.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that takes chances like that, a live setting in front of 1,000 people. I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean, you're walking on a tightrope without a net. That's that hats off to that.
Yeah.
If you can do that.
Frank, every solo was something new. I mean, I've heard bad ones, but bad ones are still good from Frank. But
yeah.
I highlighted this comment from Big Eyed Bean Vision. The dynamics of Lark's Tongue are brilliant. And that, again, that's like an essential thing that when I think of that album is that, Eric and I are probably referencing the same Steven Wilson interview here, but he talks about how that album runs the dynamic range gamut in the first 5 minutes. Like there's more dynamics in the first 5 minutes of Lark's Tongues and Aspic.
And that's so much fripp. I remember like some cuts on different albums would be so quiet. You could barely hear it. And then building into something so loud, his dynamics were incredible. I've never heard another rock band do it quite like that,
Yeah.
I know most people don't do the surround mixes, but I've finally gone down that rabbit hole, and Lark's Tongue Part 1, the surround mix, is absolutely amazing. And if you want to really experience those dynamics, sit in Ian's studio there with an atmospheric mix of that one. It's just intense.
Wow.
Just so good. It's my favorite surround mix of anything I've heard so far.
It's mine as well. This one and I think Fragile are really close. But
do you need special equipment for that?
Yeah, you got to get a receiver. You got to get a receiver and like half a dozen speakers. But
okay, I'm out. I can't do that.
You can get an approximation of it, like I've done with a really good soundbar setup. Soundbars are not surround systems, but I'm in the ballpark, and it's throwing the right stuff behind me. It might not.
Are soundbars? Are they like long, skinny speakers, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But this one's got speakers at an angle, on the side, pointing to the top, out the front.
Nice.
And it does throw that stuff around in a pretty nice way, but it's a poor man's version for me. Ian's got more of the proper setup, but
you can see in the back there. My back speakers are behind me.
Okay.
And then I've got two left and rights up front. I've got a center speaker, and then subwoofer, and then I have two heights that are heading for the ceiling, up firing. But what Atmos does and surround sound does is it'll convert your room into a 3-dimensional sound environment. So like foreground sounds are usually mixed in the front of your room, and then a lot of background stuff is in the back. But it's made for cinema. It's made for film. So you can do some incredible stuff. Like I'm thinking like talking drum, like when that builds up to the the shrieks, that just feels like it's surrounding you, like it just engulfs you.
How do you go back to stereo listening after that? Is that hard?
It's not that. No, not really.
Two different things. They're separate enjoying things for me.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
And I've had these for decades, and I wasn't able to hear them until just recently when I finally did get something. Because there are quad mixes on here. You get, Vinny playing a surround mix drum solo. I mean, that stuff's killer. Anyway, yeah.
It's also like, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I was going to say improved separation of instruments. Like you can pick out distinctly, like that's the bass part, that's the guitar part, that's the vocal, that's the flute, whatever. And it's like you can, for instance, like you can hear something and it sounds on a stereo mix, it sounds like, okay, I hear a blend of two instruments, but I'm not sure what it is. And then when you listen to a surround mix, you can very distinctly tell, like, oh, okay, that's like a guitar and a saxophone that are playing harmonies together. That's just incredible. And I find it really useful, even mixing in stereo, because it's like taking a mix apart and being able to hear the component parts around your room. Although sometimes I have to admit that when my ears are tired, I can't surround mix. Like I want to have stereo because I can't hear as well behind me.
Too much.
Yeah, it can be too much, but it's like an experiential thing. Like if you want to have an experience.
So Moon X would like an Atmos mix on the next one, if that's possible.
All right.
You want to think about that?
Sure, we can talk about it.
Although Jerry and I won't be able to listen to it, but it's okay.
With a Blu-ray burner, I could make copies for people.
Okay.
We were talking earlier about how Gentle Giant in the surround mix, I was getting exposed to a lot of things I just didn't hear in the stereo mix. There's like some songs where they play like 30 instruments on a song, and you're like, where's it all going? And then all of a sudden you hear something back here, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, that thing. I remember hearing that, and I hear the stereo version, and it's like, man, this is cool.
Yeah, it's especially cool for stuff that was originally released in mono, like some of the outtakes on Stand Up. And I don't know if I'm thinking like Living in the Past would have been originally released in mono, or even going forward like Life's a Long Song, like on Aqualung. Just to hear those things that I'm used to hearing, like one or two speakers of, to have it all, the component parts floating around you it's incredible. It's like a learning experience for me. It's like learning how to arrange something just by listening to a mix. So yeah, if you can do it, I do recommend it. And a lot of these classic albums, it's like hearing them again for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
How's that Gentle Giant stuff treating you, Eric? Are you getting into that?
I mean, the 3-piece suite really, really got me good. I mean, that's right up there with Larks. Very tasteful. Wilson, he keeps himself netted in, to the original, flavor of what was there. But he's squeezing the knobs a little here and there, and it's really nice. Aqualung, I mean, that's a really good one.
That's a revelatory mix for sure.
Big.
I was telling Eric before we started today, I was telling them about my stereo here a little bit. My turntable and my speakers are from 1975.
Wow.
It's an old Yamaha YP211 turntable, belt driven, and the speakers are Advent 1 bookshelf speakers. And then I have a pair of JBLs later on that I came in with. But what I do and what I did with all the King Crimson stuff is I went and got the 200-gram vinyl version, and I decided to get every single one of them, and I eventually got them all. So that makes a big difference too in the sound.
That's a good sound.
Here's a comment from Jocko. Wetton was such a monster bass player in the 70s. One of the reasons that's my favorite era. His bass lines were the glue that kept it all together, and what a voice. Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't love John Wetton's voice at first, but I do now. And it was kind of interesting listening to the Radio Bremen 1972 performance, because you just have like 30 minutes of improvisation, and then they do Exiles after that. And when Wetton's voice enters on Exiles, it's just like, it's very creamy. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's just like very like,
Oh yeah, he's a great singer. Yeah.
It's part of that contrast, like that whole like the Larks, Tongues, and Aspic thing. It's like something delicate within something acidic and corrosive. Like I think that's a great way of just describing all of the dynamics, and like I said, like the outrageous improvs, and then kind of the delicate.
I mean, I think that's how all of us kind of work. All of us like to work with contrasts. Either visually or sonically. We like that contrast. I don't like it to be the same thing over and over and over.
Right. Well, we're almost at the 2-hour mark here, and we might want to wrap up soon because I'm getting kind of hungry. I don't know about you guys, but before I go, I just thought I would open up a forum here. What else have we been listening to this week? Talk about anything. Jerry, you go first. What you been playing this week?
Put me on the spot.
That's right.
Let's see. What have I been listening to? I listened to Armageddon, Keith Relf. And
Keith Ralph, love him.
Yeah, that album is just, it's in my top 25 for sure. It's another guitar-driven heavy album, hard rock meets prog.
Is that after Renaissance or before?
After Renaissance, yeah. It's after Renaissance. It has Bobby Caldwell from Captain Beyond in it. Martin Pugh, is that how you pronounce his name? P-U-G-H? I'm not really sure.
I think it's Pugh.
Yeah, Martin Pugh and Louis Sanamo. They all came from the original Renaissance, which was with Keith Relf. And I've been listening to that. I've been listening to Steamhammer, which is Martin Pugh again. What else?
Eric, I saw you got some discs there. What you been listening to?
Well, most recently that sucker's been great.
Oh, that's great.
So Jerry, you gotta hear that if you haven't heard that. Cheaper
That's a
than
great
cheap.
set.
Great film and video of it as well. One I just never heard, and luckily Steve had it. Purple.
What is that?
That is Miroslav Vitas, an album called Purple, and can't read that, but
I've heard about that for years, but I've never heard it. Purple, he did it a long time ago, but it just came out kind of recently. Is that right?
another copy of the CD came out recently because the CD was really difficult to find, and Steve got copies of these at Wayside.
Nice. Do you recommend it?
Absolutely. It's not real long, but I mean, you're dealing with. I can't even read the notes on there. It's coming back to bite me, Dave. The small text. I'm getting old.
There we go. I have a magnifying glass downstairs in my studio just for that reason. It's got a light on it, just so I can read the CD text. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it around the 1970, 1971?
Yeah, it's 1970, and it was 1970, and it's got Joe Zawinul on it. On most of the tracks. Billy Cobham's on a couple, well, I think on all the tracks, and John McLaughlin's on one. So, I was like, no brainer.
Is he mostly acoustic bass or a little bit of both?
I think mostly stand-up bass, yeah. Acoustic, and not everything has drums. But yeah, it's I believe it's five tunes, maybe like 30 minutes, but beautiful stuff.
I'll have to pick it up from Steve. I'm a big Vitus fan.
Yeah, it's definitely worth grabbing. I've also been listening to that a lot. I picked up all of these live can releases.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
All of them are great. I mean, the Paris one especially is probably one of the better sounding ones.
Yeah,
the Brighton one's really good. And naturally, I play this one constantly all the time. Egg, the Polite Force.
Yeah.
That's another album that just blew the head off my shoulders when I first heard it. When Dave Stewart's distorted, wretched organ came in, I was sold. It was like, I don't know what the hell I just heard, but I need to hear it more.
Is Clive Brooks on that one?
Yeah, Clive Brooks and Mont Campbell.
Did you ever listen to any of the Groundhogs at all?
Yeah, I've heard some of that. Yeah.
Clive Brooks went from Egg over to the Groundhogs.
And then he became a drum tech for somebody. Tull. He was a drum tech for Barry Barlymore or somebody.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
I'll
interesting.
look that up again, but yeah, I'm super happy I got my signed copy of that one. Poor Clive isn't with us anymore, so.
No.
Hey, Dave, I wanted to show you this while we're on here. This is what Tom Scott sent me.
Oh yeah. Is that the crate that it came in?
Yeah,
Nice.
I don't have my Phillips head down here right open it, but yeah, it's in there.
That's cool.
The Great Lost Muffins album.
20 years ago, he sent me this now.
Wow. That's cool. Yay, Tom.
Oh, Prog Frog Ian says that he was the drum tech for Floyd.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
I gotta put Cardiacs up there because there's a new remaster, an Abbey Road remaster that just came out of this, or it's coming out. But that's what the hat is. It's my favorite band. And
did I introduce you to Cardiacs, Eric, or
it was Mohadev?
Okay.
Egg Helmet. You know him.
Yes. Was he from Stop Motion Orchestra?
Yeah. Stop Motion Orchestra. There's another one I worked on too, but yeah, it was you and him, the combination, and Cardiacs was I first heard it and was like, nah.
Yeah.
The very Britishness, the chanting, the singing turned me off, but it took me an entire year of going back to like the same tune and maybe grabbing another tune and going, this music is absolutely brilliant. And it took me a whole year, and then one day it clicked, and then I was completely taken over by it. I've gone to England 4 times now because of that band. I started painting again because of that band. I met tons of people on Facebook, and that's the one thing I miss about Facebook is being on the Cardiac fan site. Yeah. I adore those people. They're my favorite people. But yep. I have to figure out what to listen to anymore. The way things are now, I have everything at my fingertips, and I've had to force myself to just listen to an album again. Just put on an album and listen to it.
Yeah.
I've lost touch with that.
I don't do that enough. I really don't. Yeah.
Just about once a day, I'd say I set aside a couple hours and I'll play an album or two, and I shut off my phone and I just turn it up and I absorb, and that's just like a daily ritual for me. And I would not trade it. But I'm so glad, because I think that one of those bands, if you're lucky, you might come across a band like that once in a lifetime that just completely inspires you in so many different ways. And to some extent, I would say that the Hot Rats sessions for me is an example of that. Is just something that I got a hold of, and it just inspired so much creativity out of me. But no, I'm glad that you're digging the Cardiac stuff so much, and I need to get back into them. Like
it's funny because Cardiacs, I remember a 120 minutes video came up from MTV about the time when you guys were, telling me about Cardiacs, and it triggered a memory. I was like, I saw that video in 87 or 6, whenever it came out, and it just sounded like The Cure to me at the time, and I was like into Rush and other stuff, and I sort of just let it go. And all these years, 45 years, I finally discovered that band, and it was, of all this other music I have, I've never heard these guys, and I hear this story all the time from people who find Cardiacs. Like I've been around for 60 years, and now I'm just hearing about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saved the best for last for me. Cardiacs has like everything in it for me.
Yeah.
It's a Boolean cube of music genres and just different.
And then you can get into the associated bands too. Like the Sea Nymphs, and like even like Zach Nathanson's mentioning William D. Drake's solo material, which is it's different.
Yeah,
it's very different than Cardiacs, but it's in the family in that family, but it's just remarkable music too.
North Sea Orchestra, Knife World,
Oh yeah, Knife World too.
And now that Kavis Strabi from Knife World and who was in Cardiacs, he's the band leader for Gong now.
Yeah.
David Allen has the torch, and they're actually coming here next month in Seattle.
You gonna go see him?
Like, hell yeah! I'm gonna go bug Kavis. Try to.
This is what I listen to. I listen to this at least once every couple weeks.
Really?
Oh,
How's it holding
wow.
up?
Yeah.
I had it on 2 weeks ago. I listened to it a lot. I think it's great. I mean,
It's a good album. Yeah.
you guys always just kill it on those albums.
I can't get enough of it, really.
That's great.
And that's from you. You recorded that. You played on that, and for you to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not be tired of it. Yeah, that says
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's generally anything I've worked on, it's like, no, get that away from me. But,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
bad memories. But Moon Axe, that is an album that when I hear it, I think, you know what, that turned out pretty well.
I spin
That
all
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah,
through regularly.
There's something magical in the way that one came together. I'm not sure what it was, but the muses were talking to us and helping us put things together. And yeah,
I'm
it
just so
was
happy
good.
that you guys went and did the vinyl. That you did it, because there's something really special about having your art on a record.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Isn't it nice? It's so nice and big. Yeah. And yeah.
Something about making just side A and side B just really is so pleasurable to me.
That you would actually have to put side A in the text and side B in the text. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to take all my dad's albums and
Mhm.
overlap them down the stairs to run my Matchbox cars down them and stuff like that. I was looking at Inagata DeVita, Steppenwolf, all Chicago albums, and
Mhm.
playing and then learning about what music might be.
Yeah, I would love. I had so many fond memories of sitting down with an open up album, and just being absorbed in everything on the cover while I listened to it. It was that's heaven.
Yeah.
Spending a month with one album because that's what you found.
Yeah,
Really,
right.
I really.
Right, that would keep you going for a month. Yeah, easily.
I
Yeah.
feel bad for anybody that can't experience that like we had. Finding a record after a month.
I have to go feed a hungry boy.
Yeah.
Ah,
I'll be right back.
okay. Is he talking to you? He must have been talking to him.
It's like you said, Dave, just hanging out and just absorbing it.
Yeah.
Reading and
Yeah. Well, this is what I've been listening to. I've been listening to a little bit of Paul Sears' new band, Chosen Few. He sent this to me. Yeah, it's good. It's good. They're just a 3-piece, sax and bass and drums, but I think they have somebody sit in on guitar on this and stuff, and do a little bit of a quartet stuff. But this is good. I was listening to this. This is Hans Eisler. He does neo-contemporary music, like new classical music, sort of. But I think he was writing in the 40s and 50s and stuff. This is really good. I just got this from Steve, the redo of Elton Dean's album, and I always loved the album, but the live stuff on here is really, really good too. And Phil Howard, the drummer, is that right? Phil Howard. He is so good. I love his free jazz drumming on this. And this is when, Soft Machine they were experimenting and heading over to the free jazz side until they switched back, and got more to the composed side. But for a while there, they were a wild free jazz group, and I just love that sound of it. And then Nick Barsh's Ronan, this is the latest one, Spin, that just came out, and he is so good. I saw him in Tacoma Park recently when they were here, and he's so meticulous. I mean, just the composition is just amazing. Just a quartet, sax and piano and bass and drums, but really, really good stuff. That's what I've been listening to recently. Oh, and I just put this on recently, the Kevin Ayers, yeah, with the whole world shooting at the moon. I really like this. I think this. I don't know. I liked the first two a lot for a long time, but I think this is becoming my favorite Kevin Ayers lately. You know, at least as of this month. Just this is just such good stuff. And talk about quirky. He's such a quirky songwriter. I think Um, but those are the ones that I've been listening to.
I love Kevin Ayers. Yeah,
What's that?
I love Kevin Ayers. He's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a one of a kind for sure. Absolutely one of a kind of composer.
The record shop that I go to on a regular basis he said that he just got me a copy of Shooting at the Moon here. It's coming, I think this week I'm supposed to get it.
Oh, good.
Finally,
Good.
But I've got quite a few of his other ones, like Banana More and other ones. So yeah.
You have this one, Dave?
Yes.
Blind Badger. That's where I first heard that one. Oh.
Yes. In fact, a friend of mine had that. They had recorded it on the radio. Somebody had it on the radio, and they recorded it from the radio. And then he had a reel-to-reel of it, and we would listen to it before this album came out. And always loved it. Always loved it. That was Soft Machine with Just Us, they would say, and oh God, fantastic. Yeah.
This is an amazing recording.
Yes, that's that free jazz era that they were in. Yeah,
it was 71. Yeah, very quiet, took off. Yeah, I'm a Fifth fan. I love Fifth.
I love Fifth. Yes,
the whole environment of that first side. You know. The water drips and everything. It's just such a.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I love that part of Soft Machine. Yeah.
It doesn't get much love, and for me, it's the one I grab probably the most.
Yeah. I love that one. Third, fourth, and fifth. Those are my top Soft Machine albums. I listen to those guys the most out of all of them.
I thought it was pretty cool that he remastered that 73 show that happened to be on my birthday, the day I was born. I collect all the shows I can grab for my birthday from October of 73.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, oh, Frank was playing in Austin on my birthday, and Soft Machine was playing on that day. And I'm like, yeah, not sure. No wonder fans.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
You take what you can get.
Yeah. Maybe it kind of seeped into your DNA when you were born there. It was out in the airwaves and it was happening, and then Eric came into the world.
It's strange because I always kind of felt like I wasn't born in the right decade.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
The music is that I like, and all the movies and stuff I like.
Yep.
My wife says that all the time.
Yeah. Does Michelle think she was born too late or too early?
Too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it for music. It's I think I landed in a good spot though to experience what I did. It had been an interesting perspective. You guys were before me, so living it and being in it, you have a different view. I can look back and pull things out of there, and it's weird. Like when I first got the, I wanted to bring up the Muffins because Open City was another big signpost for me. Wayside Music and Steve. His recommendations and his write-ups were really made the difference for me.
Yeah, those catalogs. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like getting that brown box in the mail was like the best day ever. It was newsletters, and I would read the newsletters from Steve, and I read about Soft Machine Third. That's actually where I first heard about it. Got our hands on that, and then because we'd heard Third his write up about the muffins in there for Open City. It was another, hadn't heard it, just bought it. Let's give it a whirl. And then when fuzz bass hit me in that on my speakers, that first minute,
thank goodness for Steve and Wayside. I think the Wayside is responsible for turning so many people onto this music and stuff, So
inside just blew me away. I just, holy shit. I mean, my roommate Warren and I were just like, what? Fell in love instantly, instant fan.
Yeah.
And then Not Alone sealed the deal. Damn. And then it's just, yeah, I don't think Wayside gets enough credit. I mean, a lot of my musical experiences were because of that.
Yeah. Hey, Gary.
Gary says, "Hey, great to see you all, Dave, Jerry, Eric. Thanks for this live feed.
Hey, Gary.
Our pleasure. Good to be here." Jocko says, "Eric, your artwork for Unfamiliar Skies is proudly framed in my room." Let me see if I have
Yay, very good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. I made some of that art at work. Lunch break.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah.
What were you supposed to be doing when you made this artwork?
I don't know. No, gosh, we played with that one for a while.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was fun.
This was an idea that Nate and I had, and it was like, okay, we want a bird, but he's floating upside down like he's in a fish tank, and we want, mid-afternoon, early evening skies, and we want it to be kind of orange, and we sent it to you. And the other thing was like the submarines lurking in the background.
Oh yeah, they are there. I forgot they're in there.
Yeah, and you were like, okay.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Eric, don't you hate these picky clients? My gosh,
Dave, you are the most pleasurable person to work with. Like, I don't know if there's some little symbiotic, thread that runs between your brain and mine, but I feel like you let me off the hook sometimes, and when you could criticize something, but
well, thanks for that. I just like letting the professionals run with it because they know more about what they're doing than I do, So
yeah,
whatever you guys come up with, that's like the best thing,
That's what Roger Waters used to say with Pink Floyd. He'd say, like, when you hire an artist, you hire them because that thing that they do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Hands off. You let them do their thing.
Right.
And I've found that in my professional work that's the last thing artists want to hear. Usually artists want a specific.
They need a guideline. They need a guideline, right?
Yeah. Right. They're just so not used to being let off a leash that they need a specific guideline because they're afraid to make a mistake.
Well, and in the game business, you kind of get both camps. You'll get people that need strict direction. They like it. They want that. And other people are like, I just want them. But as an artist, I just sort of keep people on the road. I give them all this space to run around in there, but I keep them in the guardrails, to keep it going. But yeah, I like to just let people do what they want to do.
Yeah.
All right. We do have a couple of comments I want to address. So Zach Nathanson, this was a while ago when we were asking what we're listening to. He said Magma's Udu Wudu, great album. Hawkwind's Hall of the Mountain Grill, another great one. Gentle Giant's Power of the Glory. Bowie's Low, that's one of my favorite albums of all time, is Low. And then Tangerine Dream's Rubicon is another fantastic record. And he had another comment here. Deep Purple's In Rock, Tangerine Dream Zeit, I love that one. Magma's MDK, Renaissance, and Vandergraaf Generator's World Record. So I have a question for you, Zach, because you seem to be more in the know with the Cherry Red camp. But is this finally going to happen? Are we going to get the Stephen W. Taylor mix of World Record soon? Have you heard anything? Because last I heard is that it just keeps getting pushed back. Like it was supposed to come out in spring, and now they're saying end of June sometime. But it always gets pushed back like within a week of the release date. So Yeah, that one and the Snow Goose. Yeah, Zach says it's already out, and I don't think so. I don't think it comes out until June 27th, but I could be wrong.
Well,
anyway.
Don't hold your breath for the Lamb stuff. They pushed that like 4 times now.
Yeah, that's coming out in September now.
Thanks for the compliment there, Gary.
Yeah, Gary says, from the mind of a madman, Eric's designs are just perfect.
Yep.
I'll keep playing those drums.
Okay, yeah. Zach says, no, you're right. It's on June 27th. Okay, yeah, because I've been trying to see that. Now I saw that the world record vinyl is available at Wayside. Yeah, I'm needing some Van der Graaf generator fix. I've keep having a Peter Hamill vocal line run through my head, and I'm not entirely sure which song it's from, but I know that there's something that's like, okay, it's coming. World record. It's got to be coming soon. Are you guys Van der Graaf fans?
Not so much. I liked the first couple albums when they came out. We were listening to them in the Muffins and stuff, but then I don't listen to the ones after that, after the first 2, I guess.
Interesting.
I've got a couple on vinyl.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Pawnhart fairly well. I haven't listened to a whole lot. Kind of not my cup of tea in some ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would think that, they would be up your guys' alley. I mean, not Jerry's because there's no bass player.
Yeah, maybe it's the singing or something. There's just like a little bit of a, I don't know. Singing's tough for me. I'm a hard person when it comes to vocals and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendly reminder that Pawnharts was #1 in the charts in Italy for a few weeks in 1972.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
And you know why that is because of Theme 1, the cover of the George Martin tune. People were scooping it up because that Theme 1 single did really, really well back then.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Hey, Jocko, do you like Etna? That's a jazz fusion band that doesn't get heard very often.
Italian jazz fusion band, Etna?
Like a light version of Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know them either.
Ooh. Yeah, you guys should listen to them. You should at least try them out. I think you'd dig it. Man,
Is that AETNA? Does it start with an A?
TNA.
It's ETNA.
Oh, ETNA. There it is. Yeah,
Etna.
Etna is very good.
Like Mount Etna.
Frog Ian.
Frog Ian has the spelling there, Jocko. So just look at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, Etna. Okay, I'll check them out.
Yeah, I think it's just one album, and it's just self-titled Etna.
It's hard to search because you look up Etna, Italy, and it takes you to Mount Etna. So,
Oh, yeah.
ungoogleable. Gary says, Eric turned me on to Egg. Amazing material. I need to spend more time with them. Like I said, when I started my business, I sold off a lot of my record collection because I didn't have any money saved, and so I did not make much distinction. I think one of the few bands that really survived that culling was probably the Muffins. I think I kept everything from the Muffins, but
Yay!
And then I bought a whole lot more when I did the box set.
Yeah.
Zach says, you need to check out Blood Ceremony. Zach, I think I introduced you to Blood Ceremony.
Black Sabbath and Jethro Tull with Grace Slick being locked up in the middle of great description.
Having a plant-based diet, making music. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. But I used to play them on deep cuts. They're very interesting. It's like hammer horror.
Yeah.
That's
cool. Jerry and I have a plant-based diet, and we do music together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm the exact opposite of you guys.
Are you an omnivore?
I have to do carnivore for my health.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could go on about how many things have improved. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, good. Good. Vegetable fiber is too hard on your stomach, I guess. Yeah.
I can't deal with digesting a lot of vegetable stuff and fiber.
Too high in fiber. Yeah.
I don't even need the fiber the way I eat. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
It is. Will you have us on to talk plant-based versus carnivore diet?
Yeah,
Can we
debate.
do that?
You don't want to do that.
Wait for another time. See, I was thinking we'd sign off soon, but I think we've got our highest viewer count since we started. So,
Oh, wow.
how you guys feeling?
We're still here.
Hmm?
I'm here. I mean, I'm retired. I don't have anything to do. You know?
Well, somebody asked about our favorite Chicago album. Where is that?
Two.
Two's
Two.
mine. Yeah. Two's mine.
Yeah.
All of the first one's pretty sweet, but it's that too. And I've talked about this before, but Chicago, the unison horn playing that they do, because they're different voices: trumpet, trombone, tenor sax, and the three of them together, they will play exactly the same note. And that unison horn playing is what I try to do on all the albums that I work on. Whenever I do a horn section, it's that unison horn playing, but with different kinds of horns to get the different sounds in there, and that I learned from Chicago.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Jerry,
I love that sound.
You have a favorite Chicago record?
Number one.
Number one,
yeah. Number one is good.
Yeah. Well, the first three probably are really great. After that, it tapers off. But
well, they have.
So was the big. Terry Kath was the big impetus for me to listen to Chicago. I think. I mean, I love the horns too and everything, but his guitar playing was really exceptional.
Yeah. Well, I was in the school band all through elementary school and junior high school and high school, and for the band kids, when Chicago came out, man, we were we were like on board. We were in the fan club, you know. All the band kids, yeah.
I was actually saying that yesterday. I was listening to this album and I said, you know, it's impossible to have been a band kid and not be obsessed with Chicago at some point.
Right, it's true.
Because like for me, I mean, I obviously I went to high school in the late 2000s, 2007, I think is when I entered high school. And we were actually playing this stuff in the stands, like football games. We'd be playing. Yeah. Does anybody know what time it is? Or 25
yes.
or 64.
Right.
Like I've played the flute solo from Color My World as a duet.
Very cool. That's cool.
This stuff, it was just in my DNA somewhere. And this is the new Steven Wilson remix.
Yes, I have that on my wish list. That's from Steve is carrying that, right? You recommend?
He might be. Yeah, he might be.
Do you recommend it?
I do. Yeah, it's a revelatory mix. It's like, and I'm kind of revealing a little bit because I plan to review this week, but it's like sort of like how Aqualung, the Jethro Tull mix that he did, where he took something that was already great, but it never sounded that good, and he turned it in kind of like a hi-fi recording.
I haven't heard that new recording either.
He transformed this, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
He transformed it into something incredible.
Cool.
So yeah, I recommend it.
He's so good at cleaning up the little things. Just pushing clarity into everything. Like that's what Aqualung to me sounded like. Like everything just like got dusted off.
Yeah.
It took some of the little grime out of the in-betweens, and you could hear it in a bright way.
Yeah, it's power. There's a lot of power.
Chicago, it was Chicago and like big band, because my grandfather was huge into Glenn Miller and Benny Goodman and all that stuff. It was our Christmas music. That led me to Dr. Nerve. Who knew?
That's an odd jump.
Right. Oh my God, I love that band. Just so good.
Nick, I hope you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's often how I am. I start in the deep end and I work my way to friendly, shallow waters.
Mhm.
It's sort of like I started with Topographic Oceans and then worked my way back to 90125. So
Okay.
I've always kind of been a little bit backwards. Like, we were talking about Cardiacs a moment ago. Cardiacs introduced me to a pop music appreciation because I came to Cardiacs like listening to Henry Cowell and Zappa and Soft Machine, and that, Henry Cowell being, or I'm sorry, Cardiacs being kind of lumped in with avant-garde progressive music. But, so I came to it, wanting avant-garde music, but I ended up falling for Tim Smith's songwriting. And getting into the songwriting led me to XTC. XTC led me back to the Beatles. So I've always got this kind of backwards way of approaching things. But
it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there.
Right. Yeah. I was also going to mention that I'm not super familiar with later Chicago stuff, but I heard a song called "A Hit" by Varese last night. I think that's from Chicago 5. That is a terrific song. And
Really?
it sounds like Zappa. It's called "A Hit" by Varese, but it uses like a lot of like 74 Zappa isms to my ear. So yeah, that's a really strong track. Let's see.
It's crazy how much music is still out there that we probably all have not heard.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Bandcamp has really opened the doors for me in the last 15 years for the best discoveries in music in the modern current time.
Yeah. Can we say thank goodness for Bandcamp on here, because they are just keeping independent music alive, by what they're doing. So hats off to them. My gosh.
Yeah.
I probably bought 500 albums on there. I mean,
wow.
Just things, it could be $1.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Gary. He gave us a really nice compliment for Mana Mirage and Cloud Over Jupiter.
Just want to say I love Dave's Mana Mirage output. Of course, Jerry's Cloud Over Jupiter material. All some of the best material in my collection.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Jerry's my buddy. So who's Chicago versus BSTs? Who's BST?
Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but it's just the first album for me with Al Cooper. That album is great, and after that, nothing for me. I just can't. I can't take them. I don't like the guy's voice. I forget his Clayton Thomas.
Yeah,
but that first album with Al Cooper, holy cow, is that good? And I was listening to it when I was reading the Al Cooper autobiography, which is also really recommended. That is one of the best rock autobiographies I've ever read. So yeah.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Curtis Mayfield at Milwaukee Summerfest in 1973 was my very first concert.
Wow. Very good.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears opened for him, and Curtis Mayfield was the headliner.
How were they? Good?
Oh, fantastic. Curtis Mayfield was out of this world.
Zach Nathanson, Topographic Oceans is hands down my favorite. I don't care what people say. It's a balls to the wall, in your face, and middle finger to the so-called rock critics who don't know about the music. I had my spiel on.
I was going to say that is a masterpiece. I was just thinking about that this morning. That, to me, that's just. I mean, I like their earlier stuff too. Fragile and Close to the Edge are great, but Topographic Oceans is a brilliant album. It is a masterpiece from start to finish, I think.
The Ancient. I love that section. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the drum solo? Or I'm sorry, not the drum solo. It's like a drum feature at the beginning of it.
Is that? Yeah, I think so.
Side 3.
Yeah.
I'm kind of starting to get back into this album, so I don't have a lot to say. I actually talked about it quite a bit last week. But what I like about it is that it's a whole world to kind of, when you put that on, reality melts away and you are existing in this world.
Oh yeah. You need to go away somewhere. And
right.
That
like
album will take you there. Yep.
Ian, you're a young punk, so it's all new to you. And don't you forget it, Gary.
Don't mess with the young punks because they'll take you out.
Yeah, my body can't take that punk rock stuff anymore. I went to see Mr. Bungle and Buzz. My gosh. I'm totally drawing a blank. That's so awful. Melvin's. Yeah, Melvin's open for Mr. Bungle.
Can I pick you up? Bring up to everybody.
I can't get in mosh pits anymore. The last one I was in, I think I almost had a stroke.
Yeah, I went to a local punk show here recently, and the feedback was so bad that I had earplugs in, but I still had some hearing loss in a few hours after that show. So, yeah, I think my punk rock days are over as well. Jocko says, "Are you guys into the Stranglers?"
Oh yeah,
Love them.
Yeah.
Love
Yes.
Stranglers.
In fact, can we talk about some new wave or some punk music?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
And there's Montgomery. There's
Montgomery.
Monty.
Hey there, buddy.
I'll look him up. He's not very happy.
I wouldn't be either.
Here's the baby. He's such a good boy.
It's kitty show and tell time. I noticed the viewer count went up when we had the cats out. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's talk about some new wave, because when the Muffins we were working on 185, we had just moved to a new house in the suburbs from Gaithersburg, and new wave and punk were hitting big time, and it pretty much knocked us out of the ballpark, for being a prog, alt jazz band. But we liked it at the time. We were listening to Stranglers and Liquid and Susie and the Banshees and XTC and just all kinds of bands like that. Finbot, there he is. we got them all on here. How about that? All right.
One of these days, we're going to have to follow through the promise that we discussed with the last album of just putting our cats' photos on the album.
Yeah, we almost did that with Rocket to the Moon, didn't we, Jerry?
Yeah, we're going to have to follow through with that.
Yeah, putting the cats on there somewhere. Yeah.
I think Servo made it to the album art. Let me see.
Did he?
Gang of Four, Dave.
Gang of Four, yes. Gang of Four. Ann and I saw Gang of Four like 3 different times. Psychedelic Furs.
Yeah.
We love that stuff. There he is. Yeah. With his handler. Yeah. But yeah, Gang of Four and Psychedelic Furs, Talking Heads. We saw all those bands when they came through, and loved it. Even though they were pretty much, like I said, knocking us out of the ballpark musically and stuff, because tastes were changing. But we still couldn't resist it. We loved it. We loved that stuff.
Yeah.
How'd you like Gary Newman, Dave, when he showed up on the scene?
I don't think I listened to him much at all. I don't think I'm really familiar with him at all.
Yeah, because he was in there sort of as a real early new wave, 77, 8?
Right. I remember him. Yeah, I remember him, but I just never really listened to him much. Did he come from Kraftwerk?
No.
Separate? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But Jerry Newman's been one of those artists that when he comes up on my shuffle mode on Apple Music, I always stop and listen to his tunes, because he wrote some great stuff back then.
Oh, okay. I have to go back and re-listen to some of that stuff. Yeah.
I have to say, I've always admired, Dave, the fact that, you are a progger, you're a jazz fusion guy, but I always admired the fact that you were open to new wave back then. And didn't you have like a little new wave group at one point?
A little what?
Didn't you have like a little new wave group like right after the Muffins?
Yeah, kind of. We were playing with some guys, Peter Hopfner and Stuart McNiven from a band called Broken Music, and Billy and I played with them for a while, and it was very new wave. And in fact, I think it was called Weekend. We never really recorded anything, but yeah, it was very much influenced by that, by new wave, and especially by Can,
Yeah.
which kind of fits in there really nicely too. But yeah.
Yeah,
We did that. We did that for a while after the Muffins. Yeah.
Yeah, I seem to remember coming across like an archival tape in the making of the Muffins box set that had you guys playing some really outrageous new wave, and it's like, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, we were always open. You have to be open to all this stuff, to make this music and stuff. You just have to.
Yeah.
I mean, because I like a lot of stuff. I like a lot of stuff.
How about Gang of Four?
Gang of Four, absolutely. We saw them like 3 times. We absolutely Gang of Four. God, I mean that just that just seared into my DNA.
Yeah, the punk stuff, it's definitely in mine, like with Minor Threat, up through with Fugazi and just Dead Kennedys, and being a skateboard into all that.
Oh yeah, that was your soundtrack, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles and Dead Milkman, Misfits, all that.
Yeah. Yep.
I like all that stuff. I think I kind of draw a line at country pop or swamp pop, stuff like that. But give me some Waylon Jennings or some Shred and Jerry Reed. I can do that stuff.
Yeah, like the older stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later, Gary. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Hey,
Gary-san.
Gary's the man.
Go.
And he also says Our Friends Electric is a favorite of his. That's a great song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Zach Nathanson
We'll
got
keep
into
that in
Devo
mind.
30 years ago thanks to the adult animated 1981 classic Heavy Metal. That was my introduction to their music, along with Blue Oyster Cult and Black Sabbath. Devo's great.
Yeah, we saw Devo a couple times. Yeah.
I used to go roller skating back then, the early 80s. I don't know. No, it was like 1980, 81. Devo was like everything. They were always playing Devo at the roller rink, and that's where I got into Devo.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture you at a roller rink now.
Well, I was the smallest little crazy kid weaving between everybody, causing problems. Or winning the limbo contest.
I can just see that now.
Hey, Hades Fountain Blue was the name of the roller skating rink.
Yeah.
Just up the road, in Pennsylvania.
Was it a good hangout?
Yeah, because it had Jungle Hunt and all kinds of great arcade games too. So,
Cool.
because that's where we did. We lived in the arcade, and they always played cool music in the arcade. I think there were prog people that own the arcade where we go all the time, because that's where I got into Yes and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Genesis. There's another one that I can play Genesis all day.
Yeah. So you still debating that 5.1 of Selling England?
There's like 4 or 5 things I'm debating right now. I can't go near.
Give me your top 5. What are you considering at the moment?
Yeah, what are our wish lists?
I want to find Power and Glory, and I can't find that right now.
Yeah, that's a
It's
shame.
just not out there anywhere.
That's a great mix.
Yeah, that's one I was looking at.
That's my favorite Gentle Giant album.
Same here.
Power and the Glory, yeah.
If Three Friends wasn't my introduction, that would be my favorite, I think. But there's some quaintness about Three Friends that I really enjoy.
What is it about your first listening, like your first album, that makes that your favorite album? Isn't that weird? I mean, like the first album that you hear from a band and that becomes your favorite album from then on. Is it just because it's the first time you heard it in your childhood or whatever? It becomes such a powerful thing. It does for me anyway.
Yeah.
The nostalgia is, my whole office is just a nostalgia hole.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's the
My whole life right now is nostalgia. That's all it is.
that first album that you heard, that's the source of your appreciation of that for that band.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes going back to that source it's what reminds you of why you like them in the first place.
Yep.
But we did have a couple other. Zach Nathanson would love to see a Dolby Atmos of Selling England by the Pound. Wasn't crazy about the 2008 remix. So my question for Zach is, number one, are you surround capable? And number two, do you draw any difference between the 2008 stereo remix and the surround mix?
Oh, yeah.
Selling England by the Pound.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be curious about, because some people say that the surround mixes are fine. It's the stereo mixes that are compressed. Jocko says, no love for Acquiring the Taste. I love Acquiring the Taste. I'm actually on record as being critical of that album, but it's actually an album I like quite a bit.
Yeah, I remember you guys doing all the reviews of those. That was one of my favorites. House, the Street, and whatever
House, the Street, and the Room.
I mean, that's about store drugs at a house, isn't it?
Yeah. That's about their drug dealer.
That's such a thick song. Oh my God, it's so much Gary Green blues cruising across that thing. It's so heavy. I love it. The vamp on the keys.
Jack they were just talking about Acquiring the Taste. Yeah, they loved it.
The 2008 remix was a little too loud. Don't have a surround sound. It would fill up the entire room. Not a surround mix. Okay. Yeah, Eric, if you do decide to go for that Selling England by the Pound, I'd be curious your thoughts on that, because I've heard that the surround mix is actually really, really good.
That's what I heard. So that's why I was eyeballing it. And I'm also eyeballing the Spectrum one, the Billy Cobham one. I think.
I have that. I have the Quadio. That's actually rather affordable, and it's available.
Yeah.
So you can get that easily. What else is on your consideration list?
All these surround mixes, I don't know. Shit. A lot of the ones I want, I can't get now. I missed the boat.
Yeah.
I'm stuck paying like $60 for some of these things.
Yep. That's what happens when you go out of print.
I landed a 3-piece suite for $35, so that was a pretty good bargain, I think. But having heard it, oh my God, it's worth more than that.
See, that's what happens with me. Is it's like I dropped 60 on that David Bowie stage surround mix, and I was like, oh my God, I paid $60 for this thing. It better be good. And I turned it on. I was like, I forgot how much I paid for it, because it was just so good that it just is like, okay, it was worth it. Whatever it was worth it.
What Bowie is this?
Let me grab it.
It's a live one, I think.
Oh, the black and white tour, that thing?
No, it's stage.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one with Simon House, who just passed away recently. Simon House from Hawkwind.
I've never heard that. Is that good?
Oh, it's so good. This is one of my favorite Bowie records I think he ever made.
Bowie's funny for me. I don't have a lot of his albums, I appreciate him and I love him from afar. But and I remember when Low came out, and the Muffins went crazy for it, and the whole prog community and stuff. We all loved it and everything. But it wasn't until I don't know, his last album, Black Star, hit, and man, I thought that was what a swan song. I thought it was a masterpiece.
That one is.
It's hard to listen to because it's his last one, but what a masterpiece that was.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of Bowie that I have. I like The Lodger a lot.
Yep.
But this one's good. You recommend it?
Well, this is that era. This is Heroes Tour.
Okay.
So he's doing a ton of Low stuff. He's doing Heroes stuff, and it's the same band as Lodger. So Adrian Belew on guitar, too.
Wow. Okay.
And it's kind of like a proggy Bowie live album.
But by the way, I don't mean to switch the subject, but you know that Adrian Belew is mentioned in the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Yeah, I remember something about that.
Yeah, they're talking about favorite music at the end, and they go, "Who's your favorite artist?" And one of them says Adrian Belew, especially when he's playing with King Crimson. Oh, that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
they put that in there.
Wow.
But I'll look for that live Bowie. That's if you recommend it.
I do. See you later, Jocko. Thanks for
See
stopping
you,
by.
see you,
Man.
Jocko. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah.
Come join us next time.
Ciao.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh, what I've been eyeballing in? I've got a sweet spot for that Zeppelin release, How the West Was Won, that 72 show.
Mhm.
There's a surround mix of that.
Oh,
Been eyeballing $70. I don't know, things happen price, but that one and this guy's been stalking me on eBay, dropping his price over and over, and I'm almost there. The high res moving pictures surround.
oh, I would if I were you, I think I would avoid that one.
Yeah. Okay.
I bought moving pictures. Ken Golden had it for like $10 or something like that.
Really?
Like, yeah, okay, I'll take a chance on that. But Alex Lifeson is helping with those surround mixes, and I love Alex, but what happens is it's the guitars up front, and Neil's drums are pulled back, and it's like, eh.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's
cool.
What is moving pictures? Is that Rush?
That's a Rush, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe their best known album.
I'm not familiar with them at all. I'm sorry.
Get actually, or a lot of the Crimson, first album up through. I guess not. I guess all the earlier stuff before Wettin. I'd like to get all the surround mix copies of those for Islands and Wake of Poseidon and those.
Those are easy to come by.
Yeah, they're reasonable. They're like $26, $27 some places.
And I think Lizard is going to be the next complete recording sessions. It's like that's what this is here. This is the Hot Rats Sessions version of Larks, Tongues, and Aspic, because it's got the original album remixed and Dolby Atmos, and it's got instrumental mixes. But then across the two Blu-ray discs, you have the complete recording sessions, at least what survives. And it's like 4 discs. It's two CDs and 2 Blu-rays. But yeah, that's an incredible series that King Crimson has been doing. But they've already hinted that Lizard is going to be the next. It's going to be coming this year. So.
I love Lizard. I love that album. Yeah.
Lizard's a fun one because that's another one that I did not like it. And then a year and a half later, it was the best thing ever.
Yes, isn't that funny? We could talk about that. You could do a show about that. How albums grow on you. You listen to it and you don't like it, you hate it, and then it becomes your favorite album.
That was my favorite King Crimson album.
It's so.
First album was Lizard.
Yeah, first one was Lizard. I had no idea what they were.
Great cover though, right?
I love the cover, and that's why I bought it. And it was 1970 when I bought it.
Yeah.
And it's still my favorite of King Crimson Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I think Fort is always going to be my favorite of the first phase, King Crimson.
Speaking of Crimson and Adrian Belew, what do you guys think of Construction of Light?
That's one that I don't love, but I'll be honest with you, I consider revisiting it because I know that it's one of your favorites.
It's probably my favorite when in the Crimson Phase 3 with Adrian Belew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very, very harsh in some cases.
Was that the last thing he did with them before he left?
It was the penultimate.
Oh, there was Power to Believe after that.
Yeah.
It's what?
Power to Believe came after that.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But Construction gets people complain about it because of the drum mixing on there.
Yeah, but they replaced it. They used electronic drum set on that.
Yep. And then I have the updated version on vinyl, but I actually prefer the previous one with the electronic drums.
Why is that?
I got used to the first.
Because they changed some of the songs. They actually changed the songs and the mixing, not only just the mixing, but also some of the parts are different.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they just actually one of my favorite songs on there. I'm trying to think of what the name of the song is right now, but one of my favorite songs on there, they just deleted a bunch of parts and And yeah, they have the acoustic drums on the new version, but it's not the same song anymore.
Oh, that's too bad. Jerry likes the electronic drums because George plays electronic drums on Moon X.
It doesn't bother me a bit.
Let's hear it for electronic drums.
Yeah.
George.
In fact, we recorded last night, and George picked two completely different sounds for the two different sections for the Moon X. So we got two different drum sounds on there. The second one he picked was really interesting. It's got a real kind of a harsh snare and a big boomy kick on it, and yeah, it's good because you can cycle through and get different drum sounds on it and stuff, which is cool.
Like a garbage snare. Is that what you
Yeah, very much like that. Yeah, so you'll have fun with that.
Yeah,
I know when you get it.
well, I just got 17 new Universal Audio plugins
Cool.
this past week, and I remixed some of old Coloratura stuff, and I'm just astonished.
Really made a big
at what I'm
difference.
hearing. It's a huge difference. And I got Universal Audio because that's apparently what Stephen Wilson uses is UAD plugins, and they had some thing going on Sweetwater. It was like you select 10 plugins and you pay $500 or something like that, which is a lot. But
Still,
they had another sale that happened right after. They had a Memorial Day sale, and they discounted the plugins even more. So I complained to Sweetwater. And there's like, okay, well, here's some store credit and just tell me what you want. And I picked like another 7 plugins.
Cool.
On top of that, and they just gave them to me. So
so you bought the 10 from Sweetwater, and then you saw the other advertisement and you came back to them.
I complained and I came back to them.
And they kind of matched the price. That's nice.
Yeah, and they gave me another 7 plugins. So now I paid for 10, I ended up with 17.
That's cool.
One of the plugins that's really interesting is that there's like tape emulators. Like you can throw like a tape, like a master tape emulator on your master fader, and it makes it sound vintage, which is just unbelievable. And it can help with like the glue, like when they talk about like the glue of mixes, it can help make things sound like everything is together more, less kind of out in space. So I was just experimenting with some old Coloratura stuff, and I just could not believe it. It made those old shed recordings sound like they were, recorded in a big expensive studio.
Well, cool.
Sweet.
Remixing is fun.
Yeah, it's been fun for me again to get back in there. And there's also like presets that you can mess with, like you can go through and say, okay, I want a preset that emphasizes the snare. And then you put that on the snare track, and it just brings that snare right out to the front. And it's just endlessly customizable. So you can start with a preset and then doctor it a little bit, like if you want to change some stuff. So kind of eager to get started on some new mixes now.
Well, we'll try to get some music over to you, right, Jerry?
Right on.
All right.
As soon as we can.
I want to do the best of Cloud Over Jupiter too, and do some remixes.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That. Yep.
You should do that. That'd be great.
I thought revisiting some of those old mixes would be a lot of fun.
One album and do the best of from a bunch of albums or something,
Yep. I'm actually considering something like that for Coloratura, just to kind of, as a means to explore these new tools and see what they're capable of.
Along with a couple of new songs.
Yeah.
2 or 3 new songs and about 7 or 8 or 9 of the cuts from previous albums. And I've been listening.
Cool. Yeah, you should do that. That'd be good. Well,
all right, guys, do you want to wrap up here?
I guess so. I think we've run out of words.
We've run out of words to say.
Yeah.
There's no cats around. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, mine got his food, and he
the cats have all left. Now, if the cats are still here, we continue.
All right, guys. Well, this has been fun, and I want to thank you all for joining me, Jerry.
Thanks for having us,
Eric and Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I held things up in the beginning there.
Oh, that's okay. We still managed to get 3 hours.
Yeah, well, that's good. Did we really? Doesn't seem like it.
I know it does. It's just like in a blink of an eye. It's like we stopped talking about our listening list an hour ago, and we just went off on a tangent. That was almost more fun.
Yeah.
Well, this has been long overdue as a group. We've never actually all talked like this.
Right?
Yeah. I've really enjoyed that. You know, seeing Jerry and Eric here all together. It's nice. Yeah.
We're actually three-dimensional things. You know.
Yeah. Right.
We've been making records together for like 10 years.
No, because we all four of us, we work, you know, long distance, and it's, you know, that can be tough after a while. It's good to see everybody, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, unless Jerry's AI and we don't realize it.
Uh-oh.
He's very AI these days. He's an AI guy.
I want you to solve this puzzle, Jerry, to prove that you're a human. Pick the one that has the cars in it.
That's right.
The sailboats.
Pick the one that has the skateboard in it.
I am not a robot. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, guys.
Everybody.
I want to thank the chatters too. It's been fun reaching out to you folks, and I don't know what I'm going to do next week.
Thanks, chatters.
But you know, we'll figure something out. And the next week, though, I think I am going to try and release 2 videos. I'm going to do. Where's Chicago? I don't know what I did with it. I'm going to try and do a review of Chicago 2, the new Wilson mix this week.
Okay.
And I'm also going to hopefully talk about the new Cherry Red esoteric version of the Hall of the Mountain Grill, the Hawkwind album. I hope to do like an announcement video on that. And then the live stream. So I know that next week I should have Roxy Music's Avalon, I think, to talk about. The new Atmos mix of that's coming. It cleared U.S. Customs, and it's in Chicago, so it should be just a couple days. And also coming up soon, I did order Brain Salad Surgery, the ELP album, because I don't have any ELP, but I got the surround mix of that to check out. But yeah, so stay subscribed and you know, look for more updates from me, guys. It's been a real pleasure. We'll see you again soon.
Awesome.
See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good talking to you.
Good chat.
See you.